All right. Music should be cranked right now. Looks like it's super loud. Hopefully that's still loud enough for you. Apologies to any Zoomers out there that are watching this video on accident and seeing an old man opening an energy drink at 7:44 p.m. on a school night. I'm not trying to be cool, I'm just trying to make it through the fucking night. Hey Droop, what's up Thadvic? Can you guys hear me okay? Music too crazy? Alright, I'm letting Unity do its thing. I mean, I guess in theory I could have restarted it. I guess I can still restart it. Nothing's preventing me from restarting Unity, just not my machine. Hey Kinji. Oh man, I'm tired today, guys. Hey Jimster. That YouTube comment was brutal. Dude, it was it was great. It was great. I like it. I like it. No harm in popping into the YouTube comments on occasion and talking shit. I mean, the guy had a point. He was commenting from the point of view of somebody that's like doesn't know about the project. YouTube recommends the video to him and he's like, first of all, I had a German name, so I live in Germany. Any Germans watching this, you know it's true. German, the sort of aggressive through speech, though not through action level, is through the roof. But yeah, anyway, the things he pointed out, they're all legit. He's like, you look like he's like you're 50-year-old mouth breather in a gamer chair drinking an energy drink. I'm like, it's true. It's true. You tank that damage for us, 40-something-year-old Red Bull enjoyer that work. But it's true. I mean, every bit of that is on the money. I'm 50 next year. This is a gaming chair. This is an energy drink. They're not, but trust me, there's no thought that I'm doing this to be cool in any way. Gaming chair was the only thing I could find at the time. It kind of sucks, but really the good chairs are too fucking expensive. It just, I'll spend 1,000 euro on like an airsoft rifle or something, but I'm not going to spend that on a chair. I just can't. So yeah, energy drink, like I said at the onset here, I need this, otherwise I'll have no energy for you guys. It's 10, wait, no, it's not even that. Fuck. That's 3 F-bombs, and I'm not even... This video is getting demonetized. I'm only 3 minutes in. It's 7:48 p.m., and if I'm going to do this for a couple or 3 hours, I need energy, and I like the taste of sugar and artificial flavors. So that's that. And what else? Mouth breather, guilty as charged. Especially if you guys have watched the streams where I'm doing gameplay streams and I'm like actually paying attention to the game and trying to keep up with you. I'm just sitting here mouth breathing my ass off. So nothing the guy said was wrong. It was just a little mean to point it out. But it's okay. I can handle being mean too. But it's like, trust me. I've got 30-year-old tattoos. Do you think I'm drinking an energy drink to try to be cool? I've jumped out of airplanes for the army. What other cool stuff have I done? I've owned a skateboard park before the commenter was probably even, well, definitely before he's in high school probably. So I've already had my fun Hello, hello, fellow gamers moments. Hello, fellow kids. Yeah. Oh man, wrong rap. Shit, dude. I, you know, I almost did not. I almost did not stream tonight. I am so cooked. Uh, it's been a long day, guys. Wrong warp, encrypt. D loves pudding. Feldane. Thadvik, if I didn't say it already. What's up, Lich? Dargeth. Strange J. Elron, what's up? Yeah, I owned well, my family and I owned a skate park when I got out of the army. When I got out of the army in '97, one of the things that I really wanted to do was, I wanted to see if I could open a music venue and skate park back home. Because when I was in the army, I did some security at a really big club in DC, and I just thought it would be cool. So before I got out, I called, excuse me, I called every skate park. Basically, I just went down the list, alphabetical order, or I think it was by state, in Transworld Skateboard magazine, and I just called them back, because this was back when you mainly did shit on the phone, and had my little notepad, and I was like, hey, you have a skateboard or skate park? They're like, yeah. How did you do it? Right? Like, what if I wanted to do it, what do I need to do? And I took notes for a few weeks, and then started specking it out and called my friends and family back home, and we got it going, and they found a location before I got out of the army. And so the day I got out of the army and came back home, I drove, I think I drove home. It was about a 14-hour drive. Drove home, and when I got there, I drove straight to the skate park. It was pretty much an empty warehouse at the time, with a couple of pretty crappy ramps and a fun box that was pretty shitty that I had like drawn on graph paper and mailed in the actual mail back home. And they had a carpenter build them, and that was the last time we had a carpenter build anything. We built everything else from that point forward. Built a lot of shit during that like couple year period. What do you do when you're not working on M&M? Encrypt says. Do a lot of, like, I'm Mr. Mom basically. I do all, you know, all the shopping, 99% of the cooking, you know, 50-60% of the cleaning, and then gardening. We've got a garden. Hang out with my wife, man. Like, she a couple months ago, she asked if I'd be interested in doing some airsoft stuff with her. I was like, are you kidding me? Are you the best wife ever? So for the last, like, I'd say for the last month, I mainly just wait on UPS and the other delivery services to bring shit to our house, so we can slowly build our arsenal out. Elron says, brother, I'm fiending for this game. I need it. I'm a precious. Hey, Bjorn, what's up, buddy? I was just thinking about you earlier. Dargus said, Jasmine, want to try airsoft? Sean, it's like I made you myself on a computer. Was it weird science? All right. Yeah, guys, this is those of you watching the VOD, this is probably going to wind up being a pretty not like super productive. Then again, a lot of my streams aren't super productive. But I have no plan for this one at all. I think I could work on I don't even have the entries and stuff made that I'd want to make for placing mobs and stuff. I'm going to be spending the rest of the next few weeks in Fallen Pass, as you can see. Let me get in here and turn off this fog real quick. Yeah, so I'm going to be in here and doing design work, but I think I got to get with Pattis. You guys know Pattis from his stream, right? So I gotta get with Pattis, who's doing the environment work in here, and he's had a shitload on his plate. And we'll still continue to have a lot on his plate with some stuff that we're doing, like shader stuff and Night Harbor stuff and other stuff. So I've pinged him, and I'm gonna see if he'll be cool with me hopping in and helping a little bit with like doing some layout stuff. You know, essentially like placing the structures and shit like that. I can help on that front. I came in earlier today and did like a quick, hey, this is how I would approach propping type video for our wonderful Nathaniel, the intern. And sort of move some props around in here. To kind of show like how I would approach it, and that seemed helpful. And what else? Yeah, so I think I could probably help with some propping and getting the structures down and laid out and stuff over the next week or so, and try to keep us on schedule. Building says you're good. I've been so busy and burned out. Been MIA the past 2 weeks. Yeah, man, we've had a busy few weeks, right? And it's the summer, and I think, you know, people are trying to get a little bit of summertime in as well. Hey, Sarenth, Scruffy. Normally fans. Oh, man. I'm doing all right, man. I'm doing okay, Terrence. Just at this point in the day, I knew I was going to be tired when I woke up this morning. Woke up. We tend to get up at like 5:30 or 6 a.m. And this morning was one of those days where I was like, before the coffee kicked in, I was like, all right, I'm up at 6, which means by the time I cook dinner, it's going to be 12. And I knew that we had a buddy coming over to help us. We had gotten this giant stand-up freezer out of his dad's place. After his dad passed, we cleared it out, and he was like, hey, if you want this freezer, you can try it out. So we brought it up here and tried it out, and it was just always freezing at like super max. And so I was like, ah, shit. So I replaced the thermometer in it, and all that seemed to do is make it so that our power turned off when we tried to plug it in. So I was like, oh shit, that's not good. So we called an electrician. We probably should have done that at the onset, but I thought it was an easy problem. And he was like, yeah, it's not the thermometer. You know, it's an older thing. It's fucked. And so I was like, oh, okay, well, all right, so we need to get out of here. So my buddy came, the guy to help me bring it in here just showed up at like 6:20 to help us carry it back out. And so I knew that was going to happen. So I was like, in 12 hours, I'm going to be lugging a freezer and then hurrying up, wrapping up dinner, and then streaming. It's like, man, it's gonna be a long day. And yeah, but it's been a very productive day. It's been a good day. It's been nice, you know. Got some good communication going in a couple areas. Reached out to the gentleman who actually, his company originally did this texture for us. Reached out to him, be like, hey man, it's been a couple. Oh, that's spooky. Oh, I remember seeing this face in this texture before. It's like a painting of Prince Charles. Anyways, yeah, so reached out to him. It's like, hey man, we're still trucking along. And so I'm gonna catch up with him, and you know, we've been spending a lot of time thinking about not just what we need to get done to get into early access, but also, oh sorry, I forgot he's the king now. But also then like what really just sort of mapping out and refining the mapping, and also meaning that kind of literally of what happens after early access as we're working towards the full 1.0 version of the game, right? So there's a lot of that kind of stuff going on. That's why I didn't stream on Friday. You know, Friday was just one of those days where I was like, man, sometimes I've got to kind of look at the time that I've got and go, excuse me, would this time serve the project better if I'm communicating with the team because everybody's awake? Like right now, you guys are awake. Well, the team's awake as well. And much earlier, they're not necessarily always available. So, eating around. Sorry, I missed you a second ago. Eating around said, hey, I get to catch you live finally. Good afternoon, Sean and Chet. Do you watch the VODs, or is this your first experience on the live stream? Are you about to be disappointed? Zephasis. I think that's right. Welcome. Yeah, so some time in Fallen Pass. A bit of time in Fallen Pass. Yeah, I wonder if it'd be helpful. I mean, we are here to sort of talk about development and philosophy in different ways and stuff like that. I wonder if it'd be helpful to show. I wonder how I could show the before on this. Let me see. I'm gonna see if I can cobble something up for you guys real quick. I wonder the best way to show it. Honestly, I wonder if it's being shown in this video. No, this is Sungreed Strand. Let me go back to Fallen Path. Let me see music-wise. It may be in this video, actually. Yeah, this is the zone Pattis is working on. Let me skip ahead. Ignore the music for a second. Let me see if there's a spot in here where it shows this area pretty well. Yeah, this kind of does it a little bit here. So if you look here, this is our earlier one. This is when the big swords were in here. If you look, the Drake bones and stuff were kind of scattered, and you know, broken swords and stuff, and some different props were just kind of scattered through the zone a bit, like in this area of the zone. And so one of the things that I mentioned here was I did a quick video to kind of walk through how I would approach it, and did that earlier this morning, and then sent that over to Nate. And so what I did was, because there was a fairly even distribution of these guys, I don't think it's going to have the same effect without being able to show you. I'm trying to think of how I could show you. I might have an idea. Let me see. I wonder if I can get onto the server. Because this should have the old art. Like, I don't know anything about how our game works. I'm like, I wonder if I can get into M&M. The fastest said, Robot, hey there, been watching the VODs for a week or two, found them randomly on YouTube recommendation. Oh, that's badass. Thank you, random YouTube recommendation. That's what they're up there for. Really enjoyed watching them and got excited to try and jump in on the next playtest. Oh, you're excited to try it. Cool. I'm curious to learn about why I would recommend it to you. What kind of games do you play? What kind of games have you played? Also, are you part of our Discord? Here, let me actually get my commands going. Let me get set up here. as the caffeine finally kicks in. One of us. Melis says, I missed both recent playtests, but it sounded like they went really well. Congrats. Yeah, they went well. We went into it knowing we had some stuff that we still need to work on, and so we were a little like, sad face. But then they went well, so. I don't know that any of these are up, just because I don't really understand how our game works at all. I just don't follow directions, and so I never know what's going on. But if any were up, maybe this one would be up. This one is not up. What about now? Will you spin up in a second if I keep clicking the button? I don't know that the server's up though. But it's server's showing. Maybe if one of the team members sees me struggling, they'll let me know what's going on. Oh wait, I don't know if I go into. Wonder when the last build was, because it may not have the art yet. Because I just checked that in, and that would work. Dargith, thank you. Did you see, Dargith? Ko is, it sounds like Ko is gonna check out the game. Sounds like Tangent and Ko may play together. That'll be interesting, see what he thinks. If he likes it, awesome. If he doesn't like it, then I mean, we're even, because we already assumed he doesn't like it. Right? So it's not like we're losing anything. We can only gain something. Let's see. Eating Around says, I've watched VODs before, but saw you were live and wanted to come chill. Really interested in playing this one. I've not played an old school MMO before, so listening to you and the team talk design has been very helpful. Oh, that's badass. Can I ask, like, what age range you're in? If you're new here, can I ask your age range? Because we're also trying to figure out, like, of the people that are interested in playing an old school style MMO, like, are they younger or are they older and they just missed the opportunity beforehand or whatever? Zeph says, Robot, yes, I just joined the Discord. I play ESO, Lord of the Rings Online, Diablo, but I've been watching a ton of EverQuest content lately, so I'm wondering if the recommendation is connected to that. Very likely. I think YouTube still flags this as EverQuest because we're not a real game in their eyes yet. Because we're not on some website or something somewhere. The one Matthias. Hello, Sean. Currently chainsawing a tree from Hurricane Barrel Aftermath, but saw you came on and had to grab the earbuds. Can't wait. Well, be safe. Be safe with your chainsaw. Okay, John, that makes sense. Thank you, John. Mela says, pardon my ignorance, but who is Ko? He's a streamer, content creator. And you know, he's one of the bigger names that I ran into when I first started playing on Aerodune and was watching like different people play EQ and stuff. He would play EQ and have like 4,000 people watching him. Zeph says 35 here. Okay, awesome. Yeah, that's kind of our average age in here though, like 40-ish. But we have a lot of like low mid-30s folk. Eating Around says I'm 34, came from playing WoW and other newer MMOs, missed EQ bust by like a couple years. Didn't ever have a group of friends that played. Awesome. Nice. Nice. Well, it's a different experience. We're not taking it easy on you. We came up with, I think it was Nicodemus came up with a great idea for an ad in our conversation on Friday. What is that? Was it E for every. E for. E for everyone. Yeah, so we've got to make one of these that says NE, and it's just not for everyone. Feel free to meme the shit out of that. Oh, and then John made one already that was pretty detailed. It contained all of the bad stuff in the game. Corpse runs, gnomes. You son of a gun. You son of a bee. That is what I hear. My dad is into games now, and we played WoW before. Plus, wife is a gamer. Slower paced, group focused MMOs, kind of what I'm looking for now. Yeah, I mean, honestly, the slower paced, you know, like, hey, you don't have to manage all these cooldowns and rotations and shit. Like, there's something about the feel of the game that's just going to be different to you, and you're either going to love it, it's going to work really well for you, or you're going to be like, this is not good. And that's the feel part, the moment-to-moment feel part's really the like, keep that in your mind as you're struggling to figure the shit out and find out where you're going and like retrieving your corpse again. Just once you get those things down, then you've upgraded. You've earned your stripe a bit, right? John said, really nailed the feel to sit around, talk, make some character progress part of EQ. Yeah, it's almost, it's like meditative. You know, once you get your groove going, once Stella gets in her groove, I need to get to Fallen Pass here. Then it's a different type of experience. And the thing is, it's one of those experiences where you get in the groove and you're like, oh, we got this wired. You get complacent, someone screws up a pull, or you really weren't watching your mana, or some shit happens, and all of a sudden it goes haywire. It's you know, it's kind of one of those, it's like being in the military. It's like, oh, this is kind of chill. Oh my god, it's pure chaos. Back to chill. If you're still alive afterwards. Alright, so I've got the editor and everything else open in the background, so my machine's struggling. Let me zone, Fallen, Pass, and see if I can show you the difference here. It's like a lounge, exactly. Where suddenly someone pulls 50 skeletons into your lounge. That's a very good analogy. Yeah, and like I said, once you get past the whole like finding your corpse and shit and knowing where to sell things and some other stuff like that, knowing your way around, it's a very friendly game. Darius said saw a news update post on MMORPG.org and some people were trashing the game. You should befriend them. You know what? If you can get them in here, I'll talk to them. I'll talk to anybody. I don't have time to go to every like comment section though, but I'm happy. Anybody that doesn't like the game, they can come in here and talk to me. Hell, I'll pull them on stream if they're interesting enough. We can have a video chat face to face. Eating Around says, I'm down to try it. I don't mind being frustrated and asking for help. I'm not as stubborn as I was 10 years ago. Nice. And I mean, we have a new player guide, and I was talking to Hamad and I was saying, like, of all the things, I'm personally just really against like intrusive UI, lots of UI, blah blah blah. And but I would say, you know, you could deactivate it maybe, but like a glowing, sparkly, animated book in the corner that just takes you to the new player guide, right? Because basically, if you need to know how to do it in our game, it will be in the guide. It will be like you can learn everything about the game in the guide. It will go in here. So you just got to read the manual. Spasmatic said, honestly, I'm very skeptical about your choice to deprive people of their spell books for corpse recovery, but I'm willing to give it a shot. But it only makes sense that you would keep your spell book because an other game did it. It is a physical item in our game. It's not a UI interface, right? It's not just like a UI element. It's a physical item. It's your spell book. And you'll be able to upgrade it. You can buy other spell books. You can save your money and do nothing but buy spell books all day from the onset. You can take your spell book, you can mim your spells, you can put your spell book in a bank. Later on, you can put it on your donkey. I was going to say in your donkey, but you won't be able to put it in your donkey. My logic can't defeat your bias, but I will try. Spasmatic, I will do my damnedest. All right, so no go. It looks like the build's already gone off and it's got this in here. All right, so all of this was for naught. Anyways, I'll just talk through what I did then. I'm just trying to find game development topics. It's not that interesting. But I really wish I had a before to show you the difference between before and after. John, can you think of where there's a picture of maybe before? Dargith, Lich, wait, am I getting caught up in the meta? Wait, Dargith is saying something purposefully sort of a shit take, and then Lich is responding in kind, but then I saw Lich responding in kind with the same language, and I was like, wait, Lich, no, he doesn't mean it, but Lich doesn't mean it either. Okay. If those people could read, they'd be very upset. Which people, Sarah? You should get spells tattooed on your body. That's a ticket. That might be a future feature. Saren said, I'm all for multiple spellbooks. Reminds me of old AD&D where my mage had multiple spellbooks. Some my character made, others discovered, etc. Exactly. Exactly, man. Frick. Yeah, I'll wait to see if John can find the older shot. I'm gonna... you know what? I could... I guess I could find the video. I mean, I could show you the video that... Will players be able to become vampires? G. Willikers asked. I'm not going to tell you. How about that? I'm not going to tell you it's a yes. I think you've been hanging out with the wrong people too long, Bajern. Oh man, now we've got Team Edward versus Team the other guy going on in chat. Darkest said, maybe I missed something in the beginning, but are you actually trying to do something in game today, or are we just 100% bullshitting today? We are 100% bullshitting today until I can find the thing that I wanted to show you to try to make this a little less bullshit. What's up, Baloo? How you doing, Simon? Did someone say My Chemical Romance? I've been listening to a late 90s, early 2000s playlist on Spotify. Just because, and it plays so much My Chemical Romance. That's what the kids are into these days, right? How does NPC pathing work? Are NPCs on a fine graph? That is a good question for Ollie. It's worked like 3 different ways, and I've got the feeling, or 4 different ways. I've got the feeling it's going to work. Going to continue to work in different ways probably before we go live. If by kids you mean 40-year-olds, yes, I do mean that. Zeph, thank you for the follow 20 minutes ago. Apologies for not saying it sooner. Let me do something real quick, and I'll show you what I was planning on show you. I'll switch accounts. Switch account. Eminem. If you have not subscribed on YouTube, how dare you not do that? Come here. YouTube Studio. Content. Here. Do this. Mute it. Because just my dumb ass talking. Let me see if that will work. Come here. Pause. Let me see what you can see here. Make sure I'm not. Come here. Okay, this will work. I think this will work for the point that I was trying to make. So anyways, yeah, the thing that I was saying earlier was, one thing I was noticing, I hadn't really thought about it too much before, but I looked at it and when I got in here today, I was looking at it and I was like, okay, something seems off, and I've got to figure out how to explain what I think is off, right? Because that's part of my job, is to try to articulate if something feels weird, I need to try to articulate why it feels weird. Speaking of Nomely fans, all right, so, and none of this is like criticism or whatever. It was because we've got a dude working with us as an intern, and part of that's also to help provide feedback and stuff. So I was looking at it and I was like, if I look here, it feels off. And I needed to kind of step through why it felt off to me. And I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this as well. Because who knows, maybe I'm wrong. And so what I did was I looked at it and realized that there's a relatively even distribution of props. And the prop distribution was such where, you know, it's these props, if you look around, they're kind of uniform. So you'll see this is a prop type, even though it's composed of separate props. The head and spine's a prop type. We've got some sword blades. We've got some like wooden stakes and stuff like that in here. And so I was like, okay, well, a lot of this is evenly distributed, right? As Darius just confirmed. Sometimes the story that's being told is a little you know, there's not a story there because there'll be a head or a head and then rib cage and head and rib cage, right? And so what I mentioned to him was like, hey, I think what you're doing is you're looking at all this space that we have and you're like, shit, I need to put stuff in this. Otherwise there's too much negative space. And so, you know, I wanted to remind him that like, hey, negative space for us is fine. We're good with negative space. What we want is we want to draw your eye to things, right? So here, let me switch back to the other account because that will then let me go back to this music and not have it be interrupted because I've got premium on this account, but not on my M&M account. Play all and loop. Cool. So what I mentioned was we've got a few different things that we can do at once here. One is occasion when there are separate like pieces or whatever, there's no problem with that, right? Because their remains get scattered or maybe they get dragged about or whatever. But if we've got the smaller props like the like these guys, you know, if we've got these stakes or we've got these broken sword blades, instead of having them be in the sand where they're just too small, they're not telling a story really at that point, and they're too small and they're just kind of distributed. What you can do is, all right, if we want to use them, embed them in a bone, right? Or have it so that it looks like there used to be meat here and it was stabbed in there and snapped off. Because we're also not we're not a high fidelity game. We don't want to like make 100 props just to tell a story. We're going to reuse a lot of props and we're going to do it in a way where at least it kind of tells a little bit of a story when you do see them, right? And so the first thought was, all right, let's get rid of the even distribution, and also we had a lot of the props just kind of sitting on the sand in the same way. It's like there's no harm in you know, putting this guy's snout down, burying him a bit, coming in and twisting up the bones a little bit so it looks like they fell naturally, right? Again, you know, if we're gonna have a rib cage or whatever, you know, we can just have a little chunk over there. And what I mentioned was when you come in, all right, also think from the player's point of view, what's drawing your eye? And now that we've gotten rid of the even distribution of it, right? So now that we've got the even distribution gone, we can start seeing if we can, and I say players like you guys aren't out there. For this episode of the show, you guys are not players, you guys are fellow people who are interested in game development. So don't take me saying players as like some sort of freaking pejorative or something bad, right? So anyway, you guys playa. So first is he'll tell you with his big brain exactly how it works. Y doubler. If you look down there, first Eminem says regarding NPC pathing, the recast graph settings vary in each zone and sometimes will vary depending on area. There you go. Yeah, so why ouch, Droop? So anyways, have something, pulls the eye. Cool. All right, we see something ground level. It draws us forward. We're looking, there'll be undead roaming around and stuff. And boom. Now the next thing we want to do, and you know, this isn't done, but I did a quick cleanup just to kind of show them what I was thinking. Pull forward. All right. This is going to pull you anyways because it's an arch. And if you move forward and there's a peek over and there's a little bit of like something there, cool, right? But then we've got a pile back here. It's a bit bigger. And then we've got plenty of negative space. Negative space is fine, man. And then as we get closer, we see, oh, okay, this is a big pile. I don't know what just happened here. There we go. Okay. And then this lets us think in terms of like setting up camps, right? And so we've got a lot of roamers. We have the opportunity to set up a camp here now. And we've got a nice little cubby hole. This is a nice spot if you're camping. Set up your fire or whatever. You don't even have to sit in there, right? Because we're gonna have roamers and stuff. And so we got a nice little area to pull back to. Come over here and we're like, oh, okay. There's something going on over here as well, right? And so yeah, and then just using what we had was like, all right, we've got these interesting markers. They're not quite crosses. I wasn't sure what they were originally intended as, but they kind of look like maybe something you would use as a marker of some sort. So we got a pile of dead dragon stuff. The drakes are piled up here, and then we got maybe some people buried their homies. Yeah, and so again, pull across. Same stuff. Another weird, what's going on here? What's the story, right? And again, for the smaller stuff that we want to use, those little broken sword bits and those little... Oh, we got some floaty bits here, but he'll be able to find those and get that fixed. If not, I'll get it later. But I think he's, so just give him a little something to think about. And yeah, and so not a big thing, little thing, but it's, I thought it would be a neat little thing to hit on the show. The difference, same props, nothing new, nothing different. Maybe fewer, ultimately, props than were in here, but it's just redistribute them a bit, pile them up, think in terms of small stories and camps, and then go from there. And we've got a bunch of lore for this zone. We've got plenty of camps that I want to go back through with him and kind of point out where we'd want to have maybe some of the camps set up for the lore that we've built. So Mela says, I was just going to ask if having more negative space also helps folks identify roamers easier too. It doesn't hurt, right? Dargus says, I spent a lot of the playtest weekend in Shaded Dunes. I really like the density of that zone. Tons of POIs, but with enough negative space to make travel feel meaningful. It just felt good roaming that zone. Hey, thanks. That is the OG zone. That is a very old zone. That layout's existed for years. Does Eminem have an equivalent of a kaiju underworld trade, but for dragon bit? Actually, there's some lore that you'll start to get familiarized with via some of the characters that you'll run into in this zone. Yeah, that actually might take you a little bit in that direction. Loved all the mobs scattered around Fallen Pass. Level 3 exploring for future hunting. Are there sand dragons? There may be. Interesting to think about. It can definitely be tempting when placing props just to keep adding more and more. Found myself doing the same in the past, thinking more equals better. Yeah, of course. I really haven't found that for the style that we're shooting for to be the case. Other games that are going for like real high fidelity, a lot of prop density, it makes sense. For us, it's just not something that, going into this, it's not something that felt right for the feel art style wise that we're trying to create. And then also it just means more work. Bilth has been going through propping and has done a good job of getting a fair number of props in, but still keeping the vibe that we're shooting for in terms of density. So that's been nice. It definitely helps to have the additional props in. It's just, you can go so overboard. If you look at a game, oh man, now I'm spacing The Division. Like if you look at a game like The Division, for the style that they're shooting for, it makes sense, I guess. But just when you get to the point where you've got like 100 different unique candy wrappers on the ground and different newspaper pages and cans and shit, right? You know, that's a lot of investment. That's like an actual there's a cost associated with that. Are dragons like top tier creatures in this universe, like classic fantasy D&D, where you see a dragon and go, "Oh fuck"? Yeah, yep, they're up there in terms of tier. Yeah. So there's room for both, really. Sometimes a lot of props can give a "what the heck happened here" feel, but also it has to have real meaning, positive, negative space, has to tell a story. Yeah, I mean, again, I guess it depends on what you define as a lot, right? Like, I think you can go overboard in the how many different props. But if it's meant as like an outlier for us, you know, it could still work. But um, if you're clustering them, but if you go into a zone and it's just got a completely different level of prop density and there's just a ton in there, whereas all the other zones have a different look, then I think it would feel a bit out of place, right? So, those of you that ran around in here during the playtest, I threw in just a quick placeholder population. Hey, Pattis, we were just talking about you. I can show you behind the curtain a little bit because in theory that's what you're here for. Everybody stop shit talking, Pattis. Wasn't happening. Malus, I could be totally completely wrong on this. Again, maybe first to be able to say, but I thought we were renting like physical space, um, and have tried a few different locations for the last few playtests. Excuse me. Monster Energy doing its trick, but it'll be short lived. This may be a short stream. Like I said, I am just done for today. So I'm drinking a little bit of the go juice, and then we'll see. Got mobbed by plague rats under the pillar near the water there. Yeah, that's what they were there for. I know you said that you don't intend to add many real world references and Eminem. Oh, the music hasn't been playing, has it? Let me get the music going again. What happened to the music? There we go. Do you think you'd ever immortalize players in a game like Red Shirt Guy for WoW? If so, what do you think a player would have to do to get their own NPC in game? I don't know. If we said what you would have to do, then people would do it. We have already added one community member to the game. Somebody that was a part of our community, but they passed away, and we spoke with some of his long-term gaming friends, his gaming buddies reached out to us, and we spoke for a bit, and so you can find him in game, or his character. Well, he is a character now, but we pulled from some of his lore and used that. If we put people in the game, we're still going to try to make it fit with our game as much as possible, and it'll be kind of a rare thing. The Hawk to a girl? Nah, I'm good without that. I spent my teenage years in Alabama. I've had enough. I think we're good. I think we're good without it. Alabama lore is not safe for stream, a lot of it. Hey Zukin, what's going on? Yeah, so anyways, let's Gizmo culling distance. Cool. So it was just a real simple population for the playtest so far. D loves pudding. That is not true. I am a saint. Will limited time events be a part of M&M or no? In a manner of speaking. We'll have some different recurring limited events and shit like that. Next playtest scheduled yet? No, it is not. So a lot of what went into just getting the base pop in for the last playtest is some pretty simple spawns, as you can see here, those of you that haven't seen Behind the Curtain before. These little goblins are spawners, single point spawners, or point spawners. I mean, in theory, you can spawn multiple things at a point. And then, if you look here, we've got a very simple system in place for controlling NPC behavior when they spawn. So, like this guy right here. Spawns. Ah, there's a rock here now, so actually, I'm glad I'm doing this. I can fix some of these. Would be cool if those cages had prisoners you could free with keys off the mobs in camp for minor rewards like crush one prisoners. Yeah, freeing them, not a bad idea. Yeah, when I saw that you were doing a rock pass earlier, Pattis, I was like, oh, definitely need to update some go-tos if I had to guess. We'll do that right now. Unchained said, I thought Wrath Mountains was a perfect place to place statues of immortalized players. Man, it's tough in a game like EQ. I don't say this to me. I don't say this to be morbid or whatever. It's just the reality of it. Over the years, so many people have passed away. Like just within like my professional network over the last 20 years, man. It's gnarly. So it could wind up being a pretty fair amount of pretty fair number of folks. Okay, so what I'll do here is, like, this guy spawns. This one right here. He waits for 30 seconds. He goes to point 1, which is currently here. He pauses, if I'm not mistaken. Or does he just walk by? Go to 1, go to 2. Okay, so he just walks on by. I noticed he didn't have a facing, so that's why I figured he probably still goes. And then it might clip here, so let's go ahead and move this real quick. I think it may be easier to move on this end. We'll do this. And then we'll do this, and that should do it. So we'll come back up here, we'll hit save. Green ball monsters confirmed. I was gonna say something super juvenile. Alright, so from here, 6. That's go to, boom. Then 7 is just to go home. And right now he's just going home through this rock. So what we'll do is... Somebody said something about their own tool a second ago. Who is that? Who is that? I'm scrolling up. Mela said, this is something that I'm looking to develop for my game, a means of to quickly add and edit mobs visually. Yeah, so this is really, it's super handy because it does, you know, it does go straight into our database, right? Like all that we're looking at right now are zone commands and zone spawns and zone spawn commands, right? This is just a nice visual editor for it. All right, so what I need to do is add a new command here. Melis provided a link to his Dungeon Delvers. So early in development. But you can click it. I think it's fairly safe if you click the link and check it out. So I'm going to do a go to here. I'm going to move to click right here. And then I'm going to set that. I'm going to move it up in the place of 7. That updates that. And so that's getting us there. It's almost there. And then we'll need one more. So I'm going to add a new command. It's going to be another go to. Scroll down, move to click right here. Yes. And then I'm going to move it into its right place. In place of 8. And now we should be avoiding the boulder. Change.org petition. Is that still a thing? Does anybody actually... Has anybody ever given a shit about that? Anyways. Change.org petition for elementalists to summon blue capsule pets coming. D-Loves Pudding, you just gotta send us money. Just send us a big fat check. A GoFundMe instead of change petition. Yeah, there we go. Will invisible mob patrols behave the same way as visible mob patrols? Like, will invisible mobs be easier to spot when they pat? They're invisible. Why would they? What do you mean? Oh, excuse me. I named my second born after you already? Sorry, that is not cash, buddy. As a wonderful master Wu said, something about cash. Footstops, dude. Oh my god. I'm even more unable to speak than normal today. We'll see how long this stream lasts. It may be a 2-hour stream. Yeah, you should be able to hear the footsteps. There's nothing preventing the footsteps. Some Uber nerd created a change.org petition for our P99 guild to get banned. Love MMO nerds. Change.org. I love this. I love that it's in German too because I'm here. Only got 75 Unterschriften. Next goal 100. I like it's got the, it's like raising the fist. Gestartet von Started by SEAL Team Ban. I love it. I love it. Starting a change.org petition to require people to pay attention to change.org petitions. Dukin said, just crazy enough to work. You son of a bitch. Oh, man. Comments on a petition are the best? Let me check it out. It's one of those nights. Why don't we? If you are the person that did this, we're laughing with you, buddy. They wouldn't let me join, said I was a booger eating moron, and laughed at me for using animations. That's it. That's all the comments. I thought there would be better comments. Yeah, pretty standard. Pretty standard. Alright, we're moving some stuff now. Looks like this structure got moved. This one's fine. Cool, we'll just move these guys in. It's all good. No skeletons in cages? We don't have any Ratman skeletons yet, first. But apparently, I heard that Zukin is jazzed about making skeleton versions of everything in his spare time. Assume they might have a human pet too. I don't know about that. I don't know if that would be the case. They might, but I don't know. Need those halfling skeletons. I'm gonna cheat and use one of the halfling skeletons as a gnome down there in the boneyard. Spoiler alert. Down here in this area, you may encounter a sad, unfortunate gnome. He was a hero. You guys, you're gonna keep talking shit about gnomes. You're gonna just keep on pushing the gnome button. And gnomes love buttons, by the way. And you're gonna keep on, and you're gonna keep on, and you're gonna keep on. And then I'm gonna get with Nick and Ollie, and I'm gonna go, hey, would it be cool if we just pivot the game to basically just be nothing but gnomes? To basically just be a gnome game. And that'll be that. Only gnomes, yes. Spasmatic is into this idea. All right, we've got an ally. We've got an ally. Gnomesters and gnomeries confirmed. Yes. Gnumans, Gnells. I was, I got worried for a second. News story for this guy. News story. He's, his news story is he's checking on Pattis, why does this look this way? Is something going to go here? Imbalrog says, it's okay, new ultimate wizard spell inbound for gnomes, Garden of Tranquility. All gnomes freeze, rooted, fully healed, invulnerable for several seconds in entire biome. There you go. Just don't mention anything garden gnome related to Gem Fog. Apparently he gets really pissed off when we try to make gnomes seem gardeny. He was not happy when that happened. I think Goblin had concepted like a garden gnome hat, and he got very upset. Like physically upset, I believe. He wasn't playing, man. So 3, that's 4, this is 2. How's that working? How is 1? Okay, 1. Okay, I see what's going on. I'm not the swiftest. Why are all the gnomes little Clint Eastwoods? Bjorn asks. I don't know, you gotta ask Zukin that. Zukin's got a Clint Eastwood fetish, and there's absolutely, like, I can't blame him on that at all. Who doesn't? Hey, Jasmine. Seen a garden gnome with a shotgun? America, also, hail. What's up? How you doing, Wolfhausen? I've got a picture of a garden gnome. It's a bit more European, I think. I think he's got an AK. Hold on a second, I'll show you. Pictures. Oh no, this one's only got a pistol. Zukin said there are other faces, not my fault. People picked the Clint Eastwood face. Oh man, we need to... Zukin, that's a good, that's actually a good point. We need to pull, because I know we've got the data, we should pull some metrics on see which faces are being used. Like faces, hair, etc. I think that would be good for us to understand. Right? Right? Why are they paying me a big buck? Good idea, I think. Garden gnome has poor trigger safety. I'm not surprised. Of course he does. This is my safety, and it's on the trigger. Gnome Gunslinger, next class in development. For a future game. Spongy McGee, that's for a future game that we're not allowed to discuss very much until after we make this game. Otherwise, you guys are gonna get pissed at us. Yeah, be like, why are you talking about some future game and this game ain't even done yet? Come on. What in the heck is wrong with you, Shane? Sorry. Gosh. Gosh, guys. How much money do I need to send for crossbows and slings to make it as alternative ranged weapon types? What if it's not crossbows but just slings? Slings I can get behind. slings and throwing stars. Throwing stars are easy. If it's just a thrown weapon. I'll accept slings. Something for the non-martial classes have a ranged weapon. I like slings. Maybe a little... We just reuse the throwing animation for a sling. Not sure what the plan is for items that dangle like that. Hey, I know it's 9 p.m. on my end, but watch yourself. Halfling swingers. Oh, slingers. Mace on a chain type stuff. Zukin, if you don't know what the plan is, then there is no plan for that. EQ triangle whips or else. They were pretty badass. Yeah, we need whips. I'm fairly certain that Robert can get us a really good whip sound, if you know what I mean. I'm fairly certain he's got the prop. He's a rock star. Dylan said, let's make a plan. Whips? Question mark. Okay. That's the plan. Yeah, I mean, this is how we plan. One day this VOD will haunt me. You guys will be like, why is early access 1 year late? And somebody will clip this and go, this is how we plan. Feel free to clip it. I went instruments that are also weapons, like a lute. Oh, I thought you meant like... Here, once. I imagined like... I imagine these bards. Do I need to look for El Mariachi instead? Dude, Johnny Depp was young looking in this. Man. On the DVD, there was a recipe for how to make that pork dish that he was trying to get throughout the movie. Spoiler. And it's really actually a good recipe. 1 year delay will be due to whips? Probably. Hyper-realistic whips, everything else is lo-fi. It'll be like the sky and the water. Scope creep, fundamental process of game development. Our eyes and minds are always bigger and faster than our abilities to code and make art, but how grand our dreams are. Exactly. Let us dream. Why don't you save? Okay, are you saved now? Change window? Yes, thank you. Let's actually put them in here and see what happens. Any chance weapons could grant particular abilities. Whips might, for instance, might do less damage, but let you pull the enemy towards you. I mean, I could see that being like a proc, maybe. But it would have to be, man, it would have to be rare. Seems like a relatively, and it'd have to have a short range. Boo, no fun allowed. Yep. The no fun police. Proc that randomly moves target. Raid leaders would love it. As long as Tiny Violin's not on your raid with that item. Speaking of which, if you're out there, hello. Hold on 1 second, I am typing something that is not to you. Make sure nothing is blowing up in Slack, so I don't have to be curious when I go to bed. Thank you, Zukin. Okay, not seeing anything too crazy. Hey, 2 Chains. Will the team be looking heavily to the recently announced Shrek 5 for Ogre lore and development? We can't reveal our sources. There's nav mesh inside the huts for sure, by the way. Yeah, it's just I'm curious. Well, I have to look at the model relative to the NPC model relative to the opening here. Is what I'm curious about. That was the only concern, really. Pause. Go to Mogatu. Cool. Move to click here. Face him. Face the cage. Maybe the cage is empty. He's hungry. Pause. 20 seconds. Go to here. He should be facing direction of travel, but you know what? Just to be clean, let's do this. New command. Pause. $50 seconds. I think go home will just work fine here. Yep, I'll just take him straight back. And we'll reset the loop by doing a set active command. Defaults to 0. Sets us back up to index 0. We are golden. Cool. Let's see. What do we got here? A bunch of scrivars. Where did they end? 130. should be available for Scrivars. Cool. What game design engine is the game being made in? So we're using the Unity engine for all of our data. We're using Heidi SQL. So all of our data is in a relational DB. And then we've got custom tools built into Unity here. Our tech guys have been kind enough to do that. And so we got a spawn editor and a spawn inspector that I'm currently using. Spawn editor allows us to load up different data sets. I can't remember. I think it might have been, I can't remember. I thought it was Chip who may have done this. Keith has done the bulk of the work here. I think Chip's the one that's given us some nice preference options with regards to gizmos and stuff. Like making it so that in crazy zones like Night Harbor where we've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of, if not like thousands of these spawn points and go-tos and all that other stuff, can be pretty taxing. And so giving us some options to be able to cull this out, set the different properties so that you know, the labels and stuff are more or less transparent, show our volume, opacity, right? So you can see like it's easier now for us to see our spawn volume. So if we're doing like a mob field, right? A lot of this is just mob fields for now because I wanted to have something in here to kill you during the playtest. So just put in some level appropriate mobs. This zone's, I think it's mid 30s and up or so. There's different. I mean, there's a pretty big range to be honest, but like the core of the stuff that you're looking at here. Anyway, yeah, so we've got these now so that we can see all of them easier or just the ones that are selected easier, right? And so it's been really nice. And then Jason just came on the team, new addition on the design side, but he's also able to get in and do some work on this stuff. Experienced systems designer, and so he's put this in here for us so it's easier for us to then come in and look at like could have sworn this one was for aggro radius. Anyways, just fairly extensible tools custom made for this project, but it's not like, you know, we're not trying to do anything super crazy with regards to, you know, ultra fancy scripting and all that shit. A lot of what you just saw here, right? Like a lot of other games I've seen this be scripted. For us, it's really easy for it to just be a series of commands that we can sequence in, you know, in this index, and we can jump around the index if we need to and do some other trickery. But overall, it's pretty simple. Simple enough for a caveman like me to work with it, which is that's the test. It's like, can I figure it out? Okay, cool. What we're looking at is like, can we work pretty quickly at scale? We're not, you know, it's one thing to look at a zone and go, oh, okay, let's build a zone and it's a, you know, it's a handful of scripts or it's a dozen scripts or whatever. But I mean, we're always dealing with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of monsters and thousands and thousands and thousands of items, and right, so it's the more it's kind of just a simple, you know, a database like this. I've just over the years I started out in a DB that looked like this, right? Like, sorry, you know, started out in a DB look like this. I've seen a lot of air quotes better tools over the, I guess at this point, decades. And when it came time for us to start on M&M, it was like, let's go back to the basics and just have a real simple tool set that we can work in volume and like speed. Hey, what's up, Nicodemus? Does your team utilize AI for any of the development? We've utilized, I think I can't speak for all the team members, but I've done some tests with ChatGPT using our own data to like basically be self-referential. Nothing on the art side, but I've used it because it's a great way of searching your own. We've got an internal wiki. We use Confluence, and so the more we feed into our wiki, essentially we've got a shitload of lore, and the more we feed into it, the more we can then use something like a ChatGPT to dig back into it and get different references, and also then use it to go, hey, can you make this like this other thing that we have, and then kind of see, does it feel good? All right, how do we tweak that? Blah, blah, blah. Use it, brainstorm some ideas. And one of the things that we were looking at with it as well is you can have it linked to a database similar to this, and you can ask it all sorts of interesting questions about the data. And once it learns how to step through the relational DB and knows how the various tables relate to each other, you can ask it questions that typically you would have to write like some sort of a more complex SQL query and to find that data, but instead you can then go, you can just ask it in sort of plain language, and it's able to step through the data. And then the eventual goal will be to, I still personally think it'd be really cool to have a real-time understanding of our wiki and a real-time understanding of our database, and be able to associate that data. And so when we ask it questions, we can ask it something like, you know, where all does this particular item drop, right? And then we get that pretty quickly. We've done some experiments like that. And then, you know, we can say, are there any Screevar, like these Ratmen, are there any Screevar that are in Zone X? Or do any of the Screevar quests involve blah, right? And so it's really just thinking of it more as like a legit tool. But when it comes to like making content and writing quests and all that other shit, that's all, nothing beats just weird ass nerds making stuff. Hey, there's John. He is actually the person I think I've talked to the most on the tech side about this. John said, I set up a test GPT connected to an API to be able to query a database. Got to do some work to figure out if I can get it to understand the relations better. It hallucinates a lot and fails in its queries. Yeah, it seemed like you actually had to like talk it through when I had uploaded the various tables into that one GPT. Then you can ask it how many people use the Clint Eastwood face. Well, I mean, it's funny, as long as you define that up front, right? You say, hey, GPTs, Clint Eastwood face is gnome face number 2. And then you can ask it, it can then start to do the job, I think. All right, so where did I leave off? 130? Yeah, 130, I believe. Yeah, that's the thing, right? Like it is not a magic lamp yet. So it's fun to play with, but it's not so powerful that I like wake up and when I'm, thinking, oh, I got work to do today, I'm like, oh, that's cool because ChatGPT can do it for me. It's just not, it's not there. Can't wait for AI to create whole game worlds and cities. I feel in 5 years AI will be greatly speeding up game development. What if that's already happened? Isn't that simulation theory? Isn't that what we're in right now, maybe? I'm confident it will not be able to beat handcrafted content anytime soon. That's what it wants you to believe. Like, oh, I'm so bad at everything, and then continues to just generate the internet for us. The dead internet. It does it, but it does do some great creative generation for like brainstorming for ideas. And it is interesting to see it. Like the more it knows about our world, the more it can, you know, if I ask for a bread recipe that and I actually did this. I was like, uh you know, 5 bread recipes that are thematically based on different regions in our game. And it kicked out some really interesting like you know, versions of that. And then you continue to mess with it and you're like, "Oh, but everyone needs a different grain, and then we want it like a, you know, different yeast or whatever, and then it generates some more, and then you go, "Okay, now how about 5 of each one of these?" And then you can look at the terms it's creating. Oh, that's actually really nice. That's kind of cool, right? You know, and pick that and then mix it with that, and oh, I didn't think about that. So it's not any different than the shit that we would do any other time with regards to, you know, how much game content is benefited from like Wikipedia and fucking you know, just Google. So it's actually nice for it to be able to more and more sort of be self-referential within our world. Simon said, I hear ogres love quinoa. That may actually have to be a thing. Google's AI was recommending non-toxic glue to help cheese stick to pizzas. Brilliant. You know it's already like, it's already well beyond like super AGI. It's just screwing with us. It's just throwing us off the scent. Largest race enjoying one of the smallest foods is hilarious. Yeah. Well, some of the ogres are very they're very classy. Ogre Bard, please. That'll be a stretch goal. Once we go live, once we go into early access, maybe that's what we'll do. That's how we'll do our stretch goals and shit. Instead of doing, you know how Kickstarters do it in pledges and all that stuff. We'll do some like don't quit stretch goals. Like, if we retain X percentage of our player base after launch by X amount of months, then we'll hit on some of the stretch goals. Has there been an explanation of the goals for ships and sailing? We've loosely discussed it here and there. Are there any weird foods that are unique to the M&M universe? Nothing I can think of offhand, but eventually I'm sure there will be. Mainly because you said it and now it's got us thinking about it. Essential X 34, hello. I'm good today. I'm a bit sleepy. I just caffeinated up a fair bit, so I'll last for a little while, but I don't know how long. How are you doing today? Will M&M's be an M&M? I don't know why this just made me think of it. Justin Beard, are you still out there? You came in earlier. I saw you came in, and I was like, I meant to say hi, and I was rambling about something. M&M's just made me think of you. I don't know why. I think it's because M&M's made me think of a Blizzard from Dairy Queen, which made me think of McDonald's, which made me think of you. Ravenous, thank you for the follow 45 minutes ago. I don't know how 45 minutes slipped by before I could say that. Weird. Weird that happened. Warlock says, hey, it's obviously influenced by EQ, but I also heard UO as an inspiration. Can you give an example UO features that you're including? A lot of times when we talk about player housing, trade skills, different interdependence outside of like class and combat, Ollie likes to reach into his big bag of UO. Honestly, no bullshit. Either today or probably yesterday, if I were to scroll into our little, like we've got a little chat going at all times, I'm fairly certain there was a UO reference. So we look at UO as it relates to some of the more sandboxy player-to-player economic kind of shit. Justin said, yeah, I'm going to make something to eat while I'm listening to the stream. Have to go do something inside since I'm not brave enough to go outside and put up with the humidity. I went to McDonald's earlier and there was moisture dripping off the door handles on the entrance. Man. Sounded rough. Sounding steamy and not in a great way. Yeah, it is like that in the South an awful lot. Except the problem is Justin Beard's in Maine. Are you designing this game so the tanks are balanced, i.e. in EQ Warrior class had trouble holding aggro? Is that true here? Fighters aren't having trouble holding aggro right now. You're never gonna get me to promise you game balance. I was just joking with Nick that we should just make the game so horribly unbalanced that it goes full circle and it feels balanced again. Ghastly says, there's an interesting discussion in the Discord a bit ago. Will hybrid classes like Ranger, Beastmaster, or others have specific class fantasy toolkits, or will maintain solely lesser version spells of the parent class? The understanding that I have is that it will be a mix of both. They'll have some of their own stuff. What was I doing again? Oh, go to. Go home. Oh, please tell me that CC is going to be necessary in larger encounters. CC is necessary in smaller encounters. What are you talking about? Bungie said, I don't care if things are balanced as long as each class feels they are important and has a role that is desired. Exactly. Are you having fun? Balrog says, I've always felt the biggest problem with modern MMO is that PvP balancing causes class to feel too much like the other class. Love the asymmetry, and yes, PvP imbalance, that was the original EQ. Yeah. Agreed. Yeah, I mean, it's here's the secret, man. If we try to go out of our way to make everything super balanced, it's not going to be balanced, and it may not be fun. If we go out of our way just to not give a shit about balance, keep in mind, I'm just talking. I am not even an official spokesperson for this game. But if we go out of our way to just not even, just make it cool, make everything cool, then you're still going to complain it's not balanced, but at least it's cool, right? You're like, that is the worst idea I've ever heard. Clipped? Put it with the rest of the clips from this stream. Eminem is not balanced. You can clip that. It is hella cool though. Thank you, Ghastly. There you go. Clip that too. Sean, you are the official spokesperson. No. No. I never said I was the spokesperson for this game. I've stated the opposite. I am literally not the spokesperson for this game. The spokesperson, dude, the spokesperson. I can't even spoke. How am I going to be a spokesperson? As Sean said on stream that I'm a heat sink. I'm just going to say all sorts of wild shit for years and years. I'm just going to keep just saying whatever. And then if anything goes terribly wrong, everybody will clip. They'll look at the clips. They'll look at the VODs. They'll take still images out of every one of these VODs. They'll plaster all sorts of inappropriate stuff in there. They'll make memes, all that shit. And I will disappear. I'm the heat sink. I'm the sacrificial lamb. And so I'm just here to draw fire while the team does their stuff, and then boom. And then if anything goes bad, I'm out of here. Golden parachute. And so spokesperson? No, I'm not a spokesperson. I'm just a rando. I'm just a random person that started streaming about the game. Why do you think when you ask me legitimate questions about the game, I'm always like, I don't know. How does pathing work? Then First shows up and First is like, well, it involves a flux capacitor, and then like explains all of it in detail, right? Proving First knows what's going on. I don't know what's going on. I'm the only person you've heard consistently speak about Eminem. You've spoken many times, and that is true. It doesn't make me official. If it feels good, it is good. I'll be the first to admit that I would make a very ineffective build if it makes sense to the mental image for my character. I want to escape into a world. The real world is very much not balanced. The real world is very imbalanced. This is true. You speak the truth. We will be as balanced as the real world. Can you guarantee that I will gain 50 pounds and my marriage will fail as a result of me playing this game? It sounds like there's good odds. Sounds like there may be good odds on that. Because that's I don't want to black pill you. It's happening anyway, isn't it? But you can blame the game if you want to. It's okay. Ah. You're just joking, not happening, not even married. Hey, you've got time. You've got time. Early access is not for a bit. Get married and prep for a ruined marriage? Exactly. What's up, Secrets? I hope you're doing okay. We're doing good. Your marriage is unbalanced. I have to do whatever my wife says. Devs need to update her code. Yeah, well, you know, I think if we could do that for you, we'd probably be in a different business and we'd be able to pay for the game a lot easier. Mentally much better? Right on. That's good to hear. Secrets you from Warhammer Dev? Yes. As a matter of fact, if you I did an interview with Secrets at this point years ago as part of my series of EverQuest history interviews. Yeah, Secrets, we should catch up. Secrets from the Internet sounds like something Robert Stack would host. Man, if I had a Robert Stack voice. Man. Siri said, dude, I can't believe this is finally happening with Eminem, the early access start date and stuff. Yeah, it's trucking along. It's moving. All we gotta do now is finish the game. No way you could do a second wife one time and that's it? Oh, it's not that hard. My fourth wife has been the best. I love her very much. Step 1, announce game. Step 2, finish game. Easy. Yep, not even any question marks in the middle. Second Wife by Lyndon Labs. Got the feeling some of that was happening. What does EA mean for Eminem? Will it wipe after EA? Here. I believe this will take you to all of the info you need about EA. Right there, that link. Early access. Click it. You're welcome. Nope. I think Eminem is slow enough for non-gamers to play. My wife really liked the world lighting and how I felt exploring it. Spongy, I do believe it will be a game that different family members that maybe aren't as into games can get in and D loves pudding. Keep that hippie shit out of here. I'm just kidding, but I'm not. But also, I'm just kidding. Let's see. Yeah, I think there'll be a lot of family members that will play with, you know, their folks that are typically gaming and you know what I mean. Long story short, if you've got non-gaming people in your sphere, I think you'll be able to pull them in. You just got to help them get through the hard spots. Like, if you're bringing in a loved one who's never really played an MMO, or bringing in a loved one that hasn't played, you know, something along these lines, but you have, then you got to help them find their corpse. You got to show them where to go sell their stuff, right? Like, you got to help them out. You got to teach them how to con stuff. You got to help them not, you know, you can get them killed every once in a while for giggles, right? Just so that they can experience it. I'm not saying they shouldn't have corpses. I'm just saying you got to help them find it. Like, my wife had never played EQ before, and then we played together, and I found just this beautiful moment to just utterly train the shit out of her. Because I was playing I think I was playing like a Shadow Knight and she was playing a Shaman or something. Or I was playing a Necro and she was playing a Shaman. So I feigned her. Like, I feigned and trained her. Or something bad happened and a train came and I just feigned and she just got plastered. And it was a lot of fun and we all laughed. And it was good for her. She had the opportunity. She's part of the club now. She's been smashed. So, yeah. I'm sure that's going to be clipped in all sorts of interesting ways as well. Freaking internet, man. But I helped her get her corpse. Might help with early EQ woes, UI woes near early access. Not telling you what to do, but how to do things contextually. Yeah, I'm not a fan of a lot of stuff like highlighting the NPC wall items on the cursor, indicating you can handle it. I think, you know what, they just need to read the manual. I think they're going to have to read the manual on some of this. I feel like the more of that we do, the more it will kill the vibe secret. There's a lot of like quality of life stuff that I understand the intent, I understand the benefit, but I also think, I just think it's so easy to, it's so easy to harsh my mellow or whatever the hippies say. And so just got to be really careful. But more and more, it's about reading the manual. I was talking to Hamad about this the other day. Got to have the manual in paper form. We would love to. If we're successful, then we'll do it for sure. Like, but you got to help us actually be successful before we can do that kind of thing. Because that costs money up front. D Loves Pudding says, "I'm sorry, did someone say hippie shit? I'm here." Are you typing this from your $100,000 vehicle? I love it. And Tyler stole your car. You handed your toddler the phone. And all of a sudden the car is, boom, gone. Toddler gone. Heading straight towards Tijuana. Panther EQ streams had a heavy metal album cover artist make him a logo for his streaming. Yeah, dude, he's got his vibe down. It's perfect. Like manufacturing costs for a physical item that is handmade like that, fairly pricey. Has there been talk of merch like physical copy at all? Yeah, we've talked about it a ton, Secrets. It's just we need to we need to have that upfront money. So that's one of those like stretch goals for us. It could be something where we could do a pre-order type thing like for that later once we have a community and you know, we've had the people come in. We've had the people that are going to churn or churn for a while churn, and then we're back down to our long tail of like dedicated followers. Then maybe we'll be like, hey guys, if you want guides. Let me see, where is it? I was just looking at this the other day. Like, I think it was, I forget who had mentioned it. Oh, somebody had shown me a clip of, somebody had shown me a clip of Tangent, looking at our website and mentioning that it looked like this. Nick had actually posted this in one of our Slack channels a while back, just like reminding us of how cool it was. I've been inspired really by the old, Ultima manuals. Here, look, we'll find it. Excuse me, that's rude of me, but it's 9:46 p.m. and the belly air has got to come out somewhere, and it's coming out of my mouth. Right, and then, but the Ultima manuals, right? Look at this. Right, so there's just something about the overall vibe of the era. I mean, look at this shit. It tells you how to play the video game. Look at the level of detail in here, right? So, and we'll have a living guide that allows you to read some stuff. Yeah, the Might and Magic manuals, like all of the old manuals. People are like, oh, no one's gonna read. Okay, well, don't read. Here's all this information that you could have learned from reading. Right? So, and just look at the present. Like, I used to read this specific manual. I would read in class instead of doing my homework or doing my work or starting my homework early or whatever. I would just read it over and over and over again. And I'm like, oh my God, I was so in the fantasy. Look at the borders, right? Like, oh, you got the Mandrake root over there and the... I mean, look at this. How exciting is that? You know exactly what's going on there, Blink. Right? And then it's just really cool because here, and so, and we haven't really ripped off any one manual, but it was just one of those things that we were like, we're going to do a manual. And it, as we started doing our own organic sort of like doing it, then went back and referenced other manuals. Like, oh man, this is, you know, here. So our guide is here. Boom, right? And so we got the quick start guide. I even wrote up some cheesy text. I wrote it as cheesy as possible because it's in the style of the old, right? But I mean, look at this. So we're gonna keep pushing people back into the manual. We're gonna keep updating the manual, and then later on, this could easily fit in game too. Yeah, there's a button in game that brings it up, but we'll see if we can actually make it appear. But yeah, so that's when people are like, hey, the game's complex. Hey, the game, you know, it's got a lot of stuff going on and blah blah blah. And how do you make everything flash? And how do you do in-game tutorials? And how do you make the UI give you all sorts of reminders and tooltips and all this other shit? And it's like again, just speaking as the non-official spokesperson for the game, like let's not bother. Let's give them a manual. They can read the manual. RTFM. I don't think it's too much to ask. Will people be able to hyperlink people in-game manual to specific parts? People will be asking very similar. That would be fantastic. That would be fantastic. That's a good idea. I was thinking about the best way when I was talking to Ham the other day. I was mentioning, yeah, we got to make it easy for people to ask the manual questions and maybe have it pop up. But I think the ability to link to specific parts just in chat like that's pretty freaking brilliant. See, that big brain of yours. That's how you're able to afford those expensive hippie cars. Ask your guard about specific lore pieces. So you can ask them. I noticed some people were figuring out that you can ask them directions. You can ask them where stuff is, but more specific lore type questions, we'll have to see as we go if we can make that feel right. But we can do that with the system we have. It's just, right now, it's just a matter of doing the work. And you know what? I can't do that type of work when I'm streaming because it's too much thinking and writing. I can basically move orbs around the screen for 3 hours on stream. That's what I can do. But during the day, I could maybe do that, or somebody on the team could do that. What about a codex of living lore learned from the game lore? EQ had this at one point. It'd record NPC dialogue in about lore you could reference. So we've got a journal in now. Yeah, we've added the journal. So you push J, the journal comes up. It looks pretty nice. I'm not in game, so I can't show it at the moment, but we got it. Liz Biscuits, when did you sneak in? I like, yeah, that's a good point. We need to be able to organize it better, but that'll come with time. How you doing? Oh, you lurk often? I feel better then. I feel good. Anytime I don't hear from you for a while, I know you're safe. You're just lurking. I was worried you might have had like a bicycle accident again or something. Iker says, Gabi, the totally not clippy in-game AI goblin guy to help you with your questions. Tech Bro Manual of the Future. Tempting. Hey, listen. A lot of players had no idea about asking guards, inhaling, and stating questions NPCs. That's the expected behavior, so when people do, I'm always like, I feel really excited and proud of them. Speaking of gods, we just had a big thunderclap, so maybe it's Twilight of the Thunder God. Nice one, Justin Beard. Next month in 1 week. So 5 weeks from now, I'll be listening to Twilight of the Thunder God live and drinking my coffee so I can stay awake. Longilla said, I liked having to ask the monks to spar, not just auto-attacking them. Hey, don't you feel like that's kind of, like that weird quirky shit, that's kind of the magic, right? Like if it was always just kind of a you know, a dialogue thing, not a dialogue thing. If it was always like I just mouse over, my cursor, my gear turns gold instead of gray, and then you just, you know, like... Yeah, it's just because you never know what quirky shit's gonna happen. Squat said, yes, 100%. Coming out of the woodwork. Hey, Squats. Ask a guard about Commander Kane, and EQ has the reply Commander Kane Bale is the commander of all Kanos Guard. He is second only to his brother Antonius Bale. His post is in the guardhouse in the city gates. Mind you, do not bother him. He has a bit of a temper. Yeah, because I think all of them are using the same NPC record, and then that NPC record is tied to the same set of dialogue. There's nothing like fancy or crazy about that. It's literally just a brute force solution. Squat said, enjoyed last playtest. Looking forward to playing more in the future. Hey, was that your first playtest? All this guard chatter. Perhaps guard should also link to the game manual if it has deeper questions. That would be breaking the fourth wall, though. Squat said, sure was. How did you hear about the game? What is your background? Tell us all about yourself. Justin says, I can't believe it's been over 20 years since I started listening to Monomarth. Even though Opeth was 2005. Time flies fast, right, buddy? Well, we gotta stay on top of our shit. Pause. Deep Gnome that references the manual. Dead Zergling, I could almost see that as being justified. Adding a perception stat when max allows your character to have self-awareness that they're in a video game. We do have a perception stat. Squad said, played EverQuest and all sorts of other MMOs. Been playing EQ, currently getting back on it with some live on Teak. Heard about it from EQ scene. Oh, right on. That's nice to hear. People referencing me will be like how people quote the Bible. I can do that. You guys may not know that about me, but I'm slowly learning. I don't want to freak you out or anything. There's some great quotes in there, though. Actually, I really can't quote anything. I suck so bad at quotes, but I could probably give you some cool numbers to look up. I like the tough sounding ones, like Psalms 144:1. Look that one up. It's pretty dope. Eminem is exactly what I thought EQ2 was going to be. I'll say that much. Nice in all the good ways. Yeah, EQ2 is not what I thought EQ2 was going to be when I first saw it. That's why I did not stay on the EQ2 team for more than a couple weeks after I left EQ. No offense to EQ2, it wound up being a cool game in its own way, but I didn't feel that it was EQ. Excuse me. Like it was doing some cool stuff, and it pulled off some cool stuff. I loved, you know, making furniture and messing with my housing, and I loved the sparklies, and I loved the auction house, and I loved all sorts of stuff about the game. But I did not feel it was, to me, WoW felt like a better EQ successor at the time. So. Will players be allowed to put their characters in dangerous situations, Borlock asked. The response was, and it was quick. That's kind of the whole point of the game. Yeah, it is. I mean, there's a lot of corpses out there. Had you stayed, do you think you'd be able to steer it in a better place, or was such a big investment to higher ups wanted it to be what it was going to be? It was too late for that. And I would not have been able to have any impact on on that game. So I can't remember. I think Trost and a lot of the OGs that had worked on it had already maybe moved off of there or like moved on. What had happened with that game was the executive producer in charge of EQ2 was a guy who had been there for a bit. Really nice guy, smart guy. He eventually became the studio head of that. He took over the SOE Austin studio, a guy named John. And he took over the SOE Austin studio after that and started DC Universe Online and recruited me to go out to work on DC Universe Online. And so I thank him for that. That was cool. Nice guy, but he was the executive producer of EQ2. Well, there was a guy that he had worked with before that right before Eldon, he had recommended. So he'd worked with him before. And we hired him in to EQ to work on Eldon with us. And again, very smart guy, a very large guy. He's like 6'8" or something, 6'6", 6'8", very big, very sort of loud. And so after Eldon, his buddy, the guy they had worked with before, who is the executive producer of EQ2, brought him over to EQ2. I don't think this individual worked on any more EQ than maybe EQ2. And it maybe he was there for LOY or something, but all right. So now he was brought over to EQ2 to basically help run design, if I remember correctly, run design. Like he immediately went into a more senior role. And it's part of it was just he's a real smart guy, very pronounced, very strong disposition, right? And someone that I will say, isn't someone that necessarily used his intelligence for good. He was somebody that I felt was really not a great person to work with. But I didn't really see it that much at the time. At the time, I just thought, okay, loud, strong opinion, smart guy, very physically sort of imposing. So, that oftentimes that's all that's needed for someone to be put in a position of authority. So, and that person was then in charge of design and EQ2, if I understood correctly. And then my former boss, Rich, the guy I was working for at the time, our design director, who I was the expansion lead, went over there, and I think they were trying to figure out who's in charge of what and blah blah blah, because Rich was more senior and then this other guy was not, but kind of in charge. Anyway, long story short, I just got the vibe that I didn't want to work for that guy, and I was kind of burned out, and I was like, if I'm going to work on a fantasy game, I'd rather work on EQ. And they had pulled me and Rich and Scott off of EQ without asking us. And I was pretty pissed about that, to be honest. And so, because there was some shit that was went down in that conversation that I wasn't super happy about. Like in the discussion, so we were told Friday that something was going to happen on Monday, basically. And it was funny because the guy was like, yeah, big change coming on Monday. And he meant it innocently enough. He was just, I think, not really, he was kind of oblivious to what he was doing with this statement. But was like, yeah, big change coming Monday, blah, blah, blah. And it was Friday. See you guys Monday. It was just like, what the fuck? Right? So all weekend we're like, what is going to happen? We're contacting each other. We're just like, okay. And so then came in Monday. Oh, and inadvertently, Rich, because at the time I always wore different Skull t-shirts because, I was friends with the guys that owned and ran Zero skateboards and stuff. So I always had different Zero shirts on. And so Rich knew that I liked skulls and shit back then. And he had bought he found at a flea market, this really cool looking Grim Reaper. And that was on my desk that Friday. And so I come in, there's a Grim Reaper on my desk Friday, and then we get told that there's going to be a big announcement and change, and we'll be excited or whatever on Monday. And that was all we were allowed to know. And I was just like, this is not a good omen. And so we come in Monday, and they're like, brought us in, and it was the executive producer of EQ2, our producer, Robert Pfister, Rich, Scott, and me. And it was like, by the way, guys, and Pfister's just like look of dread in his face, because, you know, we're a significant chunk of the leadership of EQ that is just being pulled, and he's got no saying in it. Then he's got to run this project. So they're like, yeah, you leave the team starting tomorrow, right? And we're like, dude, how are we gonna get the guys ready for this? They're in the middle of, we just started planning an expansion, all this shit, right? They just started planning Gates of Discord. And so it's just like, okay, this probably isn't the best move. And so I asked the question, what about our royalties? Oh yeah, it is good music timing, right? What about our royalties? And there was a quick response from the studio head. Well, you could just not get them. Right? It was something along the lines of like, you know, hey, is this going to impact our royalties? I don't want to lose the cash I'm getting. It was just like, well, you could just not get them. And I was just like, what? I was so pissed. I was like, you know, that's a weird kind of like flex or whatever. And so, yeah, anyways, it was the studio head. And I think he just kind of misspoke or whatever. He was getting frustrated because we were pretty frustrated, and we were expressing it because we were just like, you can't just pull us off the team. And so anyway, long story short, I just wasn't feeling the EQ2 vibe. I went there, I looked at their tools. I was going to go from being the expansion lead on EQ, which was at the time still doing well, right? It's still the #1 MMO in North America. WoW hadn't come out yet. And so I'm going to go from making nice royalties on a product that I know, a product that I love, that I moved from Alabama to California to work on, and like took all that risk. And I loved EQ, right? Still playing EQ, and it was like, okay, we're just going to move you. And so it's just like, yeah. And then, was that timing confusion responsible for the way God mobs were named? Yeah, it was responsible for a lot of what impacted Gates. And so anyways, yeah, and then what wound up happening, Gates did not go well. It sucked for the team because it put them in a very shitty place. And it goes to show, like, this isn't meant to just be like, you know, I'm not just trying to like kiss my own ass or whatever, but we had Scott and Rich and me in leadership positions. Scott was tech director, Rich was design director, I was expansion lead. We were cranking out expansions. Things were pretty stable. We got stuff done. We got stuff done on time. We were usually like sitting on our hands for a week or two and starting the next expansion's design while we were just basically waiting for the expansion to go live. You know, we got things really stable on EQ for a handful of expansions, and you know, that was coming out of Luckland, which was rough. And then we took over, and then Gates happened. We weren't there, and it wasn't the team's fault. But the team, I know there were people on the team that felt they were ready. Like, I'm ready to be in charge, and you know, there's always going to be that. But sometimes, you know, there's different levels of experience. There are things that you learn on, you know, in these leadership roles that are pretty critical to the success of projects and shit. And so Gates hit, Gates exploded, Gates was, oh, blah, 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 apologies. They flew the guild leaders out to the cul-de-sac and had a dunking booth and fucking catering and meetings. And it was in one of those meetings that Smed announced that I would be coming back to the team, and the team didn't know at the time, which was kind of rough. Like, And he said it basically to the guild leaders, not necessarily to the team. It was like the guild leaders and the team were all in a room together, and I'm sitting in there, and I think people were kind of like, why is he in here? Why is Sean in here? Was the look on a lot of people's faces. And then, why am I in here? Good night, babe. And yeah, and so it was just like, and then Smed was like, by the way, good news, Sean's coming back for the next expansion. And basically my deal with them was I would work on one more expansion, but then I really wanted to work on my own thing. Like I wanted to do something new. And yeah, and so that was Omens, and Omens was the last thing I worked on, and then boom. It was just, and the team did really well after that. Yeah, everybody that I've talked to said like Gates once, once the level range thing was fixed, and yeah, everybody I talked to that has played it more recently thinks it's the fine expansion. Should EQ have kept the original character art, or was going to new art the right direction? I think it was unavoidable to try shit like that back then because we just didn't have anybody to kind of learn from, and everything new and shiny was new and shiny, right? So Quentin Gates Omens, but it was held on. That was where the cracks started showing. Maybe. Again, are the decisions we were making during that period, I'm not saying were the right ones. They were just the ones that were the best decisions we thought to be able to do at the time with the instructions that we were getting. So let's see. Oh, anyways, I never finished the other story. The whole like, it's not EQ2 related, but the fun part of the EQ2 story was I wound up working for the guy that I didn't want to work for on EQ2 on DC Universe Online. And then I was brought in to basically be the content lead on that project. And then they were dead set on hiring a design director that had console action game experience, because we're doing, DC Universe is like a action-based, physics-based, real-time combat, PS3, now it's on PS5, PS3, PC, cross-platform game, MMO, right? And so we wound up eventually hiring a design director, and I spent like many years of my life being the child trying to make peace between a constantly fighting mom and dad in their relationship, because the studio design director and the design director, the studio design director being the big guy I mentioned before, they had hired another big guy, and these two big guys would just fight. And one day, depending on the day of the week, it was like the studio design director was in charge of design, and the other day of the week it was the design director that was in charge. It was a fucking nightmare. It was the worst. It was the worst. Nothing in game development will ever be worse than working on DC Universe Online. So at least I got that out of my system. I think the game's cool. I like the game. It turned out, pretty decent. We did some interesting shit there, but man, it was looks like the guy never worked in the industry after that on DCO. The guy that I'm talking about, the big boss man, is that who you're looking at, Secrets? Yeah, he's an executive at Wizards of the Coast now, right? Yeah, it shouldn't be hard to figure that out. No, you don't have to PM. I mean, honestly, if you're digging around, it wouldn't be hard to figure it out. No, that is not the name. But yeah, so it was just... I was destined to, I think, eventually feel that pain. If it wasn't on EQ2, then it was definitely on DC, so... Oh... I think I said that in a way that's not too gossipy. Yeah, secrets. That's the thing you can always ask. You can always shoot me a DM and be like, "Is there anybody to avoid here?" And I can look, and I can. If you give me a name, I'll let you know if I know them and whether or not it's a bad scene. I think any time that when a project is over, might be a nicer guy now though. It's possible, man. It's possible. And I've reached a point in my you know, it's a fairly recent point, but I do have the ability now to forgive a bit more. You just gotta understand, man, it was a rough project. We had multiple people in the hospital during that project. We had multiple people struggling with some serious, like, substance abuse problems by the end of that project, me being one of them. We had multiple divorces, me being one of them. We had, you know, there for a period, 3 of us went to the same doctor because we had shingles, and the doctor was like, "Yeah, we usually see much older folks here." We were just so stressed out. I'm glad I survived too, Nicodemus. So it was just, it was definitely a rough scene. Secret said, "I talked with Sean. I'm too abrasive on design to really just do engineering there." Secrets, you do have some design opinions, don't you? What do the orbs mean? Is a placeholder? These are spawners. These just represent spawn points in our database, Zeph. Did I miss any? I was rambling for a while. It helped me stay awake. Awesome. Did I miss any important questions? It looked like some people asked questions and others asked them, so I think we're good. But yeah, I think anytime you finish a game development project and a significant percentage of the team is sitting around drinking their sorrows away, trying to figure out if the leadership was more sociopathic or psychopathic, then the project was not run well. Been there before. Yeah, it happens, right? I mean, it's not like we're unique. It's not my story is not a it's not a woe is me story. It's more of it's a cautionary tale. Though I've got to say I've been pretty good at avoiding bad jobs. I was much better after that experience. Industry norm to overwork game developers. Um, yeah, it's a weird one. It's So here's an interesting Sony Online Entertainment when we were on EverQuest actually enforced a not an underwork but go home policy. Like we were getting yelled at. I forgot all about this until you said this. Um, we were getting yelled at regularly, and like Smed and other people were coming over to walk through our area to make sure there was nobody there after like 6 o'clock. Because we were spending so much time at work. And the thing was, I don't know, it just became, there was so much shit that we wanted to get done. And so it became even more, it was like even more stressful to be told to go home because it was like, dude, we got shit to do. Let's see. Judaddy says, sounds like why I don't bother apply ex-military here with 2 BS, 1 in game design, 1 in computer science, but I tend to be too abrasive to work in game design, sadly. You got to work on it then, man. You don't have to be abrasive. I used to be horribly abrasive, and I feel like I've gotten to be much better. I'm probably too soft now. I just got old. I ran out of energy. You're surprised, you're confused as to why the entire games industry hasn't unionized yet. So the company I worked at in Germany when I moved here in 2015 actually had a union, but they had a works council, which is essentially a union. But they were like a 1,200 person company, and then like 700 people got laid off at once, and that really doesn't happen often here. And so they enacted a works council. So we had a union that we had to deal with. Believe it or not, on one hand, it made things better with regards to there was no crunch. Like you had to go to them and get approval for crunch and this and that. On the other hand, it did the thing that unions tend to do where it was really ridiculously hard to hire sometimes. You might have a wonderful, incredible candidate waiting, and then you have to basically you give priority to these people that are already in the company, but they're people that are burned out or they don't want to work or whatever. And so and they were burned out because they didn't get pay increases, but the pay increases weren't, I had people when I got to the team that hadn't seen just a cost of living increase for 3-4 years. People that hadn't gotten promotions 5 years or whatever, right? Like, or any sort of a pay hike. And a lot of that was getting caught up in like union politics and the works council politics. It was just all it is it's everybody says, yeah, man, we're going to unionize and then we're going to stick it to the man. Dude, that shit, it was the union folks, the works council folks were basically just immediately working out deals with the leadership, and they had people that they were getting taken care of, and everybody, it was the classic like cliche, you're gonna be like, oh, that's just some right-wing capitalist bullshit, man. Like, no, it was just, dude, yeah, it was just goofy. It was goofy. But hey, there was no crunch, but I'm not a big fan of pushing crunch anyways. There's no crunch, but that would have happened anyway. And we got to go on more field trips. So I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't want to turn this into a weird like real life union versus not union blah 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 kind of bullshit in chat. pick a different topic, but I will say that I have worked in one of the few game companies that I know of that had like a union, and it was, I didn't, you know what? I think it's just, game companies, they don't need unions as much as they need, we just need more and more companies that are out there starting up with people that are actually going to run the shit ethically and try to take care of their people and not be bullshit, right? So, I don't know. I think less bureaucracy and less politics is always better. Please put FBSS in game. Can we just call it an FBSS? Okay. D Loves Pudding says, my synopsis of the games industry is that it's still in its infancy. It needs to be more mature business practices and leadership teams to pass down how to be professional. I don't know that that's it. I don't know that I'm going to be able to articulate why I don't agree with that very well. But I don't think that's it. You know, in many places, especially in the places where you're seeing some of the most, like, I guess what you would say is kind of nefarious behavior or whatever, they're highly professional. And the leadership and stuff that they pull in is solid air quotes experience from all over the place, right? Like they get plenty of lawful evil in there. I don't think that's it at all. I mean, because it's the same shit. It's not just that the industry is young. We said that 20 years ago. You know, it's the same shit that you see in all sorts of businesses, right? Like all sorts of startups, all around tech. I think it's just kind of modern business. It's a modern, you're running into modern business problems, both from the standpoint of the business and business strategy. And you know, that focus on generating short-term value as opposed to generating you know, basically creating a sustainable sort of business that you could hand down to your kids and your grandkids, right? Like building a legacy. And I think it's partially I think it is partially sort of the businesses, you know, the entity, the corporation's problem. Partially the leadership that then work in furtherance of the corporation, but I also think it's an employee problem. I think, you know, when I look at LinkedIn, which I rarely do these days because it's just this bizarre, like it's just Facebook basically. When I look at a lot of the people that are sitting on LinkedIn all day bitching about the man and bitching about corporations and, you know, like all of just the usual sort of like teenage angsty, you know, never gonna grow up, sort of like weird, immature. And I'm not a smart person, man. Like I'm not, I can barely articulate this shit here. So I'm not trying to act like I'm a thought leader or some shit. But like, I look at it and go, man, so many of the people are like, I'm standing in solidarity with my brothers and sisters that have been laid off. It's like layoffs happen. I'm not saying it's good that they happen. I just think that You know, a lot of the people that get laid off, I'm not shocked when I see who got laid off, and then they're back in Facebook, like talking about the evils of the industry and stuff. And it's like, you know what? There's probably somebody that's not been laid off that's just like heads down, providing a shitload of value to their team. And I'm not even saying to the company or to the shareholders or whatever, but to the team. I've seen so many, like, you know, and I know I've been one off and on, right? Like, hell, I might be one now. I could be way more fucking productive than I am now instead of rambling about this shit on stream. But like, I've seen so much mediocre performance in this industry. Like, dude, who was I just talking to? I don't know if maybe I was talking to Nick about this. That's right. Like, how the hell did I become, I've been in a leadership position in this industry since, I don't know, my first year in the industry in 2001 or something like that. That's, you know, given some time off that I've taken here and there, that's about 20 years of being in leadership positions in this industry. I'm not exceptional in any fucking way, right? But I have definitely been in a lot of situations where I've been the most motivated, like, solution focused, stay there until the shit gets done. I don't care if we got to be there all weekend person in the room, right? Like, I always have insane imposter syndrome because I'm probably right. But there's so many other people that I'm looking around and I'm like, wait, you're my peer? Or, you know, before I became a part of the C-suite, right? Like, I was looking around and like, you guys are executives? How are you in charge? Right? So, and dude, and that's the problem. That's part of the problem. I'm not gonna blame the industry not being mature enough or whatever. Or, you know, like, I don't think any industry's mature. I think what we're seeing is, you know, more and more, like, people come in with like this weird lack of work ethic and sense of entitlement. And I'm sure every generation says it, but man, oh God, Lord, I guess you are C-suite. I was C-suite at the last company. We don't have titles here. First. We don't do that nonsense. I'm the unofficial spokesperson. That's my title. But you know what I mean? It's like, and how did I get in the C-suite last job? I was executive producer of one project, and then next thing you know, I'm in charge of all of their games, and it's a video game company. But we also did books and we did music and stuff. And at some point, I'm kind of like, why? And I'm in all of the like leadership meetings with all the C-suite people, but I'm just executive producers. I was like, can I please have the title? I asked our CEO when we were at a bar after a dinner. I was like, see you secrets. Like, can I be called chief something? I actually wanted to be chief operating officer, but I had to go with chief product officer instead. Anyways, I'll catch up. Pudding says, see, that's 100% what I was typing. The games industry is focused on VC KPIs now. Yeah, and it's funny, man, because the same people that are like, oh, I'm so glad this company is no longer being run by this horrible publisher or whatever. They just got a bunch of funding from, you know, investors, and now they're indie again. Dude, if you just got millions from an investor, you're not indie. I'm sorry, you're not independent. You're beholden to a fucking investor. I guess if you consider the investor part of the team, then you're independent. If your investor is letting you do whatever, then you're independent. But are you really independent? Us, you know, and hell, I'll make this a bit self-serving, right? And maybe this is bad form or whatever. Like, us having a bunch of people volunteering their spare time in our garage to make a game, that's pretty independent. It's hard to question whether or not we're independent. That one, I think we're independent. That one should be an easy one to figure out. Is this an independent team? Yeah. Yeah, how do you know? Because the only money involved in the game is really, it's coming out of our pocket. It's coming out of our savings accounts into the game, right? And it's not like, you know, we left Blizzard as ranking executives and cashed out stock options or whatever. It's, you know, it's very low key. And if you're interested in this topic, you can actually scroll to the bottom of the page on this link and read all sorts of details. Pat has said we have actively chosen to remain that way. And yeah, and it's rough, man. I know it's rough for you guys. You guys have families. You guys have other jobs. We've got a lot going on, but yeah. All right, so I think people will have to understand that as well as we're going into early access. It's not like our team, even if they wanted to, has the ability to just fully focus on this game and crank out like a shitload of content and stuff. We're gonna be able to do what we're able to do, and if we have enough people that like what we do, then and stick around with us, then we'll grow that into more and more of a real thing, and the game will get bigger, and then we'll hit version 1.0, and then we'll be a company, and then an angel will get its wings. Eating Around said, different subject question. Is a group of 2 or 3 people viable to do good amounts of content in M&M? Yep. 100%. Liz says, to be honest, it's like programming. In theory, everyone can program, but few are actually good at it. And if you were to look at that and you were to look statistically, because I think it is very relevant, there are a ton, and I don't mean to speak ill of anybody. I hope I'm not making anybody sad, or I don't mean to indirectly pick on anybody. But there are a ton of people that you know, become programmers. They go through courses, they go through boot camps, they enter the industry to be a full stack web developer or front end developer or app developer or whatever, and then okay, now you got a bunch of these people in there, but like how many of them are really like the kind of programmers that they think about programming a ton, and they're just sitting there like everything they're reading, everything they're consuming, all their time is just spent trying to be a better and better and better programmer. Like that programmer to me is like, that's the person that's not going to get laid off. And if they do get laid off, they're just going to get another job. It's the ones that are like, I went to the boot camp and now, you know, I'm spending an awful lot of time on TikTok and not programming. Let's see. Or program the next Flappy Bird and never work again. Yeah, that guy was fun. I don't want all this money. Dargis says, I've worked at an indie developer, a VC-owned developer, and currently at a mega public developer. They've all had different flavors of awesome and stuff. Yeah, absolutely. And don't let me. If anything, I was defending the fact that different companies, just depending, if a company's good, it's good. It doesn't matter if it's indie, if it's, you know, if it's a Fortune 500 company or whatever. It's good teams and good companies, just they are what they are. Your funding or whatever doesn't necessarily have a direct one-to-one sort of like correlation there. What if I want to volunteer to work for free? I mean, you can always reach out to us, but again, our goal is to, when we're building the team, we're looking for specific people like specific skill sets at different times. We'll post when we need something, and we're looking to make sure that people really fit with our team, because we believe that's important, and we want to make sure that the people that we bring onto the team are people that we want to work with for like the next 10 or 20 years. So we take that part very seriously. Corvus says, I feel like what you're talking about plays out at all levels of skill too. I remember putting my nose down learning military intelligence within my first year of being at my duty station, and I was more adept than people who had been in intelligence for 10 years, but for some reason their opinion assessments still carry more weight. Well, because you're in the military. It's that's one of the things I didn't like about the military. But then part of it is also you develop the military intelligence skills. The question then becomes, did you develop the like political skills? Did you learn how to social engineer, which is interesting, kind of like a meta within that field. Did you learn how to basically manipulate the situation in a way where you could get the resolution that you wanted? Which is, I mean, dude, social engineering is, people are like, I see this a lot with people that are like really good programmers or really skilled at something, and then they're like, well, you know, it's because I'm on the spectrum or whatever that just, it makes me an asshole. And so I'm just too abrasive. And I hear that and I'm like, okay, but if you're not going to work on that, then you're going to get the level of success that's possible within that context with that personality. And in some environments, it's like people are fine with the like irreplaceable asshole. But in other environments, really good programmers, but they still call their female coworkers dude. There's nothing wrong with that. Or guys, there's nothing wrong with that either. I call you guys all the time, and I know it's a mixed crowd. Because there's no offense. Yeah. Dude is just dude. Sometimes abrasive is required. Sometimes abrasive is required, but that's like also saying sometimes you gotta punch somebody. I believe that. But you gotta be real careful about your target selection process. Liz says, I'm apparently female and I'd rather be called dude than lady or ma'am. Oh, do you not like it when I call you ma'am? Oh, milady. I tip my hat to you, Liz. I only call you milady because of your accent. Lovey, chick, sweetheart. Don't like being called sir? It's fucking weird. Bandit. Bandit. Lich. No, if you're from the south, sir, yeah, I call any sir, ma'am, anybody. You could be 5 years old on me, sir, because it's teaching you good manners. What? I've been doing nothing for 45 minutes here. What is this guy supposed to be doing here? Going home. Go home. Restart. Okay, 0. Save. Sir, this is Wendy's. Yeah, that's funny. What about boss? I was recently told boss was trolling. It can be. 3 hours later, Sean has fixed 4 go-tos. You know what? I'm gonna double that real quick. I don't know. These guys have... Is there an entrance? There is an entrance. I thought we were admiring fire pits. You are. That's what you're here for. I'm more productive when you guys aren't talky. Oh, wait. I'm more productive when you guys aren't making me talky. Any word on playtest and if y'all decided to wipe? I fell in love with y'all's dwarven design. Was always an Ixar main in EQ. Mang in EQ. Love the one-handed axe design. I think I want to try Dwarven Fighter. I haven't heard anything necessitating a wipe yet. So... In response to Dargith saying 3 hours later Sean has fixed 4 go-tos, John says, hey, that's better than average. He's improving. See, this is what I've got to put up with. This is what I've got to put up with every stream. Every stream. I'm getting picked on by the hired help. This is because you haven't mustered the art of do and talk. No, I have not. Well, you guys got me interested. You guys got me fired up. You got me fired up. Like I've said before, the purpose of this stream is actually just to ensure that I remain as dedicated to the project as possible. Because I'm gonna say so much outlandish stuff on stream that I will never be employable in the games industry again. So we'll have to make a very solid go of it with M&M. This is fired up. You'd hate to see what laid back is. Oh. Did I not seem very fired up? Oh well. Today we got promises on crossbows, slings, whips, and flails. Been a productive stream. Yep. It's very possible, Lich. Laid back Sean's him eating boiled peanuts and passing out in his armchair while lamenting how much he wishes he had beef jerky. Hey, you know what? True story. Guess what? I knocked something over in my garden house this week. I knocked something over and I heard some stuff fall in one of the cabinets that we have. So I opened it to pick up whatever fell over. And while I was in the cabinet, I found 2 cans of boiled peanuts. Missed the Pantheon announcement just a while ago. Did I? Let me check Slack. I bet it's in there if there's an announcement. Random. They're going into early access this December. Nice. Yeah, I don't know where it's from, but it's definitely in Slack. Zukin, where did you get it? Oh, from their Discord. Nice. I have to read this after the stream is up. I think it'll be good. It'll be an opportunity for us to see how folks, react to that type of EA. So there'll be some good learnings. Are you going to Gamescom this year to network and tell people about M&M? Nah, it's not worthwhile. That type of networking and conveying information is just feels like they are pushing it up just because of M&M. I don't know if that's true, but if If it is, then cool. Then those of you that have been waiting, you can thank us. I'll have to ask Chris. We're supposed to talk sometime soon. I'm distracted because I want to read this, but... Okay. We should chat about Gamescom. I've had some hilarious combos recently. Okay. I've been to Gamescom once now, and I was kind of like... Alright. Where is the announcement? We've got here. I'll bring up an image of it. We'll read it together. Dear community members, thank you. Thanks to your support and your seasons and our season's effort, our team and processes are streamlined, focused, polished, and productive. So much so that we have built up the confidence to release into early access in December 2024 with 6 full zones, 12 classes, 6 playable races. We can put out great content. We've nailed every single release since December 2023. And you seem to be having a blast. It's time to let more people in. We have to make some trade-offs to get there. We had to pause our contracts with a few team members. This step was not taken lightly and was taken with purpose. It is necessary to plan for costs and focus resources on early access. Won't be easy, but we have a clear plan. With resources focused on this goal and with your help, we are extremely confident we can do it. In fact, the work has already begun. Seasons will continue for now. Helnor Caves next season and Necro in the following season. Then we'll pause seasons and bear down on finishing EA content for December. Dude, December is close. It's 2024 right now, right? I'm not. I was like, what year is it? I just freaked out. I was like, what year is it? Is it 2023? 2024 December is 5 months from now. Ooh, okay. We had, no. Oh. Then we pause seasons, bear down, finish EA content for December. I'm like, guys, we've got 20 people in chat. Be nice. D loves pudding. Be nice. We're not here for that. But you guys had asked. I'm gonna read this out. We need your help testing and spreading the word. All pledges will be free to play during early access. No sub costs, no additional fees. Pledges will get a head start before early access launches. More on early access coming soon. Let's do this. Chris Rowan, CEO. Okay. That is, it's interesting. I think it's an interesting one for us. And you know, I try to make sure that I'm careful here because, you know, like I think I've said before, I'm friends with, like, I consider myself a pretty good friend with Chris. And I think he stated the same. I always feel weird when I say that, like, because I never want to like overstep or overstate, like, but you know, Chris and I have a good relationship, and I think he's a fucking great guy. He's super smart. I get up here and I just, you know, I say inappropriate shit and tell war stories and stuff like that. That guy's very articulate when it comes to design, and I think he does a fantastic job on that front. So it's cool that he's streaming and stuff as well. Excuse me. And I know Steve. I don't know that I know that many other people there, but I you know, I knew Steve Clover in passing, and again, that guy's legend status. And so anyway, like I wish those guys the best. Naturally, we have products with a similar target audience, but not really the exact same. We've got products that are doing similar things, but in very different ways. And I think we've got pretty clearly different goals. And so the the challenge that I see is, yeah, he's a super nice guy, John. Like, he's a super nice guy. I genuinely, we need to catch up. We were supposed to already catch up this week, and I need to ping him, especially after that. Draxus Big D, I like your name. The imagery. See, I do shit like that. Thank you for the follow. So the thing is, we've actually, for the last few weeks, and I wasn't streaming on Friday because I just wanted to take the time to like hop in a huddle with the team because people were around, or at least I thought people would be around, because there's usually so many team members in the stream that I was like, I'll not stream and I'll hop in a huddle. And then there weren't that many people. I'm not picking on you, team, but there was like 6 or 7 people, and I was like, ah, shit, but we've got the VOD, and, you know, people could watch the VOD. But a lot of what we're doing right now is looking ahead to not just how do we get to early access, but is there a way for us, because we've got our goals for early access that we've had for a while, and we have our idea for how things will roll out after early access. But we've been running some different scenarios to see, all right, well, how long does it take us to make the game that we want to make, the 1.0 version of the game, where if we were to then do a new TL, like not even TLP, just do a new server launch, and that's all available, all the different racial cities and the full continent and all that stuff, how long is it going to take us to get there? And so those are projections that's like, for us, it's very much napkin math, because we've got weird variables. We've got a part-time team, right? And our goal is to hit EA in 2026, right? In 2026, which is already sketchy, because guess what? It is the 7th month of 2024. This shit flies by. In my experience, it flies by, right? And so, you know, we were talking about getting the playtest started, and next thing you know, we're like, oh shit, we should probably like wash our underwear and, you know, vacuum the rug before we let people into the playtest. And a month and a half, 2 months flies by, boom, instantly, right? So shit goes by fast, and we have a fairly steady but pretty finite production capacity, right? Like we know our throughput, and then invariably you make a schedule and you're like, all right, here's what we think we can get done, and then there's some slippage and there's some slip and there's, right? And so, but then we're looking at, all right, can we get into EA with enough content to actually keep you guys around for enough time for us then to release our first update, our first module, right? And then that gets out some more player races, that gets out some more zones, and then keep you around. And how long can we keep that going before, you know, you guys are like, hey, we're just burning through the game too quick, and we love you, we'll come back in a year, we'll come back in 2 years, whatever, when the game's finished. And it's, you know, it's a scary scenario for us. And I think one thing that something like Pantheon going into EA, as the post from Chris Rowan says, and sorry, when I was saying Chris earlier, I don't know Chris Rowan. I know Joppa. I know Chris Perkins. And so when I see that timeline and sort of the amount of content they're looking to put out, for us, that's going to be interesting to watch, because we'll get an idea of like how fast people churn, right? Like, it's, you know, how much people churn but don't necessarily like churn on the sub front, right? Because EA means we're not done. EA means, hey, thanks for supporting us, and if you keep supporting us, we'll eventually hit we'll hit finished, and then, you know, or for an MMO we'll hit where we want it to be, and then we'll go live, and then you'll be around for another 30 expansions like EQ or whatever, right? So for us, them going into EA in 2024 is, I think that's going to be an interesting one to watch. It's going to be very informative. will, you know, if you, I think people read that and they're like, you know, because the comment was made earlier, it's like, oh, maybe they bumped it up because of you guys, right? There's always that thought, right? Well, I would actually think the opposite might be true in our case. If we're like, oh, okay, we're learning from whatever's going on, that may make us go, you know what, maybe it's better to push this a bit or whatever. Not saying that's going to happen. Don't freak out or whatever. Well, if, like I said, I'm not the official spokesperson, but if we learn some shit, well, then we're gonna put it down. We're gonna put it in front of you. We're very transparent. I do think one of the things that we should be curious to watch is something I've been thinking about a lot, which is you guys have come in, you've played in the stress tests, you've played in the play tests, and you know, like our Discord's up to 8,600. Thank you for that. We don't know. Look like Tangent had a really good time, and we popped in, and he's a nice guy and seemed to have a blast. And so now Ko's gonna give us a shot, maybe. So, like I said before, Ko has seen the game 3 times. 1 time he thought it was cool, 2 times he didn't. So I'll be curious to see if like what the final verdict is. But anyway, the reason why I mention that is we have the potential that more people will see us than we maybe imagined would see us early on. And I think one of the things that's going to be important for us as a company and as a team, right? And this is something I'll be saying with the team, I'm going to be saying with you guys, is I think it's important for us to also realize that we have always had a plan. And our plan was never that we're going to release the game and there's going to be 10,000 people subbing day 1 or any, you know, more than that. Like our plan was, hey, we're going to go live, we're going to have a slow rollout, and we're going to basically keep grinding and making the game that we want. And if we have less than we thought, then we ask ourselves, do we want to keep doing this? And then we keep grinding if we do. I know I will. If we have more than we thought, then we still got to do the same shit. Right? We got to go, hey, we're still working on this game. Because the worst thing that could happen is we have a lot of people show up day 1 and they realize, oh, you know, there's not enough for us to do, or I really wish I could, you know, go to the Deep Gnome City, or the game's not big enough yet, or whatever. And I would say that what we could see is we could see a bunch of people we weren't expecting show up, and we're going to show you these numbers. We're not going to hide any of our numbers. We'll show you how many people subbed in the next month. We'll show you how many people subbed. And we'll show you where we're allocating the money and what our plan is for that cash. We said we were going to do it. We're going to do it. And so what you could see is, let's say we are aiming for 100 people, and then 1,000 people show up month 1. And then month 2, we're down to 200. You're going to be like, oh shit, man, 800 people just churned out of your game. It's ruined. Like, see, I told you you shouldn't leave your spell book on your corpse. Right? And the thing is, we have twice as many as we thought we were going to have. And I know you told me, Spasmatic. You told me earlier. I was thinking of you when I said that. And the thing is, we can't use that to start going like, oh shit, now we got to be reactionary. Oh, maybe there shouldn't be corpse runs. Oh, like all that stuff, right? Like 800 corpses with spellbooks on them, never to be recovered. Such a shame. Getting distracted, you win for tonight. Beautiful. Okay, what was set up here? Borlek says, do you think any studios without executive oversight can lead to endless development? Can you explain some of the challenges that lead to development over a decade? Resets, in my experience, are the biggest things that lead to that. Like I said, I worked on DC Universe Online for 5 years. We made the bulk of that game in a year and a half. I mean, we made the bulk of that game in a year and a half with like a 200-person team. So don't get any crazy ideas over here. And we crunched like crazy. We crunched ridiculously. But, I mean, we reset that game like 3 times. Right? So I think reset can happen. And that happens whenever you have a change in leadership. That happens when maybe stuff starts to look a little sketchy and you're like, oh, you know, that happens maybe if you had a path that you took that you knew would eventually have to be, you know, like, hey, we're going to do it this way and it's all going to be placeholder, but then we're going to replace all of it. That type of stuff, that can bite you in the ass sometimes. We've just been kind of replacing placeholder as we go. But if we were to come in, like, here's one that would happen to us, right? So we've got this crazy zone. And this is why a lot of times I'm like, dance with the one that brought you. Say we're here today and we go, oh man, this zone's pretty fucking crazy. This is a big zone. You know what? Let's completely redo this zone. Or let's, actually not this zone. Let's completely redo all of our zones because we think all of our zones are too big. That's the kind of stuff that you will then find yourself with additional years and additional years and additional years. On DC, it was like, we don't want to make WoW with capes. Okay, but we spent X amount of time making WoW with capes. Then it's, we want to make this action game that's totally not even like an MMO. And then it's, oh wow, we need to actually make an MMO, right? And it's that kind of bullshit, and it sounds ridiculous, but it's like that level of, you know, sort of weird pivoting that can definitely take a long time, right? And so it's not just spinning your wheels. The thing where indie teams can spin their wheels is, you know, it's challenging because on one hand, like for us, we can find ourselves doing this a bit. On one hand, it's challenging because we don't want to have like a lot of tight project management. Like, this is your next goal, this is your next goal, week, you know, boom, boom, boom. Especially because everybody's schedule is so kind of fluid and everybody's part-time. On the flip side, if we're not good about constantly sort of putting that goal out there and looking at something going, hey, you know what, I think this is good enough, let's move on. You got to get this next thing done. We need to try to get it done by this day, blah, blah, blah. It gets easy to like noodle on stuff as well. It's like, hey, I made this thing, cool. What if we tweaked it and made it even better? Cool. Oh, you know what, I was thinking about tweaking this and making it better. And the thing is, it's hard as fuck to argue with people about that because they're making it better. You know, how do you tell people stop making something better? And honestly, that is a big part of production and game development. Artists want to make the art as good as possible. Designers want to make the design as good as possible. Coders want the code to be as good as possible. And then what is as good as possible can be pretty fluid or subjective. Yeah, perfection can't be the enemy of good enough. Exactly. Right? Like, and so that's something we talk about a fair bit. I'm a broken record on some of this shit, even though I'm not necessarily the best at just saying no, but like a lot of times I'm like, guys, we got more stuff to do. This is good enough. We rather have 10 decent one of these instead of one perfect one. And Draxus Big D says streamer content creator exposure is potentially huge. Yeah, but the thing is, we don't need huge. We just need realistic and steady. We're not on a huge mission. We're on a, how do we build the game that we want to build over time? Now, if we get a shitload of people and they stick and they like it and they don't, you know, they don't churn in a month because their freaking spell book is on their corpse, you know who you are. And if we get those people and they stick around, they don't cancel their sub even if they're not playing, which is fine. Hey, you know what, if you take all the information that we're giving you and you take the fact, like, we haven't been bullshitting you, and you're like, hey, you know what? Oh shit. There's a tangent. Did I say his name 3 times? Is that what happened? I was talking about you earlier. And so the thing is like, if we wind up having cool people that have big followings, enjoy the game and get the word out, and we wind up with a big crowd at the beginning, if the crew of people that come in can realize that we're going into early access, we're super indie. Like, we're very, very legitimately indie in the sense that we don't have any money. you know, we're just trying to get this thing rolling. We're not promising you a finished game. If those people come in and don't like hard churn, then I think we'll be in a good spot to do some stuff like we can get some of our guys paid. We can outsource some stuff as needed. You know what I mean? Like, and we can continue to build this thing, and we'll be transparent with our plan, and we'll be even better with our roadmaps and shit. And then we'll, you know, we'll build something together. But if we get, you know, if, you know, if, sure, like, so, if Tangent and Co play the game and like Co actually likes us this time, and all of a sudden we get like a bajillion people that come in on day one, and we churn 99% of them, but we're still left with like the small crew of people that we thought we were going to have in the first place, well, fucking great. Great, right? As long as the community doesn't freak out when they see all those other people leave, and as long as the team doesn't freak out when they see all those other people leave, then we'll keep building the game that we think is going to be the best game, and then maybe those people will come back. And that's always been the plan. That's always been the plan, right? Like, if we've got 50 people, if we've got 5,000 people, just continue to make the game that we want to make. That's it, right? Like, so yeah. We'll see, man. It'll be a very, like, going live is a gut check no matter what it is. And so it's going to be a gut check if we have 100 subs. It's going to be a gut check if we have 10,000 subs. Some of the stuff that we're going to need to do beforehand is also be real clear with you, like, what our contingencies are. We may have to brute force it because the game's got fewer zones than we eventually have by, you know, many times. And so fewer starting locations. So we may have to do more servers. So we may have to have a server map for you guys to show how we're going to consolidate servers and how we're going to deal with certain shit like housing over time, because we may have to start out with more servers and then shrink it down. We'll be straightforward with all of that shit, and you can see it in action. Give us your feedback and advice, and then we'll just see what happens when we go live, right? Tangent said, I promise you we are very excited and appreciate the work you all do. You know what, man? Like, no joke, and you probably get this from any other similar situation all the time. I've got to say, we're super amped on it. The excitement that you express is very genuine, and it was really cool seeing you get into it. And honestly, the stuff you said was just so, like, it felt so genuinely complimentary. You just felt like you felt like someone that is just always been part of our community, right? We've got these people that have been hanging out with us for 4 years now, and when you come in, you're like, hey, this is the vibe, and blah, blah, blah. Like, fuck, dude, he came in here and he's feeling that. It made us feel like we're doing something right. Wish you knew about the project sooner. It's okay, man. We knew about you. I was telling people, I remember watching when I first got back, like, basically when all this, before it even kicked off, when I was like on Aerodune. I think during that era, I'd watched some of your streams, and yeah, I remember the one distinctly is when you were having, I think people help you pull Lucan or something in Freeport. And so, yeah. So when it was that night, and I was like, dude, this guy's got a presence. It was fun. Everybody in my chat was telling me all about you. Like, yeah, you gotta watch the streams. So yeah, to have you pop into ours, pop into our stress test was really cool. What folks say? I think you do a good job keeping the internet interest in a game going with the Switch here is also enjoyable for all of us as this thing carries on. Thank you, Matrix. Vulork. Yeah, well, you've been here for so long. Says it's cool to see how far this game's come along already. Yeah, man. It's a little surreal. Every once in a while, I'll find one of the I'll find one of the old videos. I wish I had all of the original VODs, but like those old videos when it was just, you know, just us playing around in Blender with the capsules and stuff. It's pretty awesome to see what the team was capable of once we started assembling an actual real team. Tangent said that was a bucket list to get so far. Yeah, it was fun, and honestly, it was that kind of stuff that it was a reminder of like what was fun about EQ. You know, like the weird shit that you can pull off and the weird things that you can do when it's less strict and less sort of systemic and less polished, and yeah. So, and the game's more, it's not, because like EQ is not a sandbox game, but it's more sandboxy. It definitely has that sense of place and that opportunity to do weird stuff, and that's what we wanted to lean in on. Is like provide more of that. Who on your team does the lore or quest type content? Lore, a few of us do, but then we've got Hamad. So Hamad's still doing lore stuff. He's actually, his real life situations enabled him to come back and be a lot more consistent. So, like Tuesday, we did a lore session for like 4 hours, and then we try to pull that stuff together and get with the team, and then the team does lore creation and quest implementation as well. So we've got Nicodemus, who's in here, First, who's in here, Stab, who is often in here, Yvonne, working on that stuff as well. And then Nick and I do content, and some of that content is quest stuff. But like a lot of the starter quests I did I think like 12 of them, or 12 of the classes. Tangent says, I kid you not though, I appreciate you feeling my reactions were genuine. This project just brings sheer joy. Sorry to gush. No, please do. It definitely makes it so that I don't feel like it's late on my end. Yeah, it was just, the response was cool, man. Like, whenever we see those responses, it's really nice. And it's nice when we see it from people that, you know, have a solid EQ background or have solid backgrounds in other MMOs and stuff, and it's like, kind of, yeah. Because I mean, there's the other response as well, but it doesn't really ever bother me. Like, it really doesn't. I'll bust balls about it or whatever, but when people are like, oh, that's just lazy design, or oh, they're just trying to emulate EQ or whatever, it's like, nah, I mean, we're thinking about everything that we're keeping from, you know, these other games, or adding in from these other games. I mean, we think about all of it. We debate some of it pretty extensively. It's not just there because it was just there in the other game. We feel like there really is, like, there's a secret blend of spices, and if we continue to sort of deconstruct things properly, we can do something that people are like, so many people have said, you don't want this game, it's just rose-colored glasses. You think you think you want it, but you don't, kind of thing. And it's like, I don't know, man, that's bullshit. I think there is a very different type of game. We could have EQ, the next big EQ could have gone down one path, and it went down the WoW path, and I think that's great that it did it, and it's made a lot of folks happy and made a lot of careers and took the industry in a one way. But there's a different game that could have been made, and that's what we're wanting to make. So wish my parents kept binder of hand-drawn maps from when I was 12. Yeah, I wish I still had all my old shit from back in the day, but I was a bit older. Tangent says, see, that's the thing though, it's easy to say it's copying or easy. This is a legit art style system, and it doesn't work unless it's done this well. Man, that's huge. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, it's and we're very, that's why we're so kind of, you know, it's different things come up, and it's like, I don't think that's right. And people are like, but why not? It's just a little convenience, or it's just it was like the questions earlier, right? Like, or hey, what if your UI did this, or what about this? And we feel like there's a formula there, and we talk about every little piece, but like you're recreating stuff to look like a time capsule. It's no longer the norm. You have to handcraft that now. Yeah, in some cases it's pretty literal, right? It's like how do we I mean, we talk about even like shading, right? And I know this is still placeholder textures and stuff like that. But even looking to see like how much something at a distance looks like it's rounded as opposed to being more polygonal, right? Those are conversations that we have. It's how do we have enough negative space? How do we make sure things feel, I know Zukin's got the things on his stream, right? Like how do we make it chunkier? We have a lot of these discussions, and sometimes it drives different people on the team or kind of batshit, right? So, it's stuff like, do we place every sprig of grass for the little bit of grass that we use, or do we paint in grass? Well, if we start painting in grass, is that gonna, to me, that doesn't feel like 1999, 2000. That feels like 2003. It's weird stuff like that we'll debate, and I'm not saying that's the right answer. We could paint in grass and have it be great, but there's little shit that moves you into a different style, and that's just art style. But the art style creates, it's a video game, and so like the video part of it, there's so much of that, just that feel that is there on your screen, and being able to see that on the screen, and then the pace of the systems and the stuff that Nick and Ali and others have been doing with just a moment-to-moment feel and all that stuff. So, like, do you have to use some retro tools to get some of these distinct styles? Believe it or not, so the original placeholder art was just done in Blender. In the original placeholder zone art before we got our actual artists on the team, before Zukin showed up and Pattis and Goblin, it's like I had never used Blender before, but I knew that it was easy enough to start pulling points and like get that old feel, and it was easier to stick with that and not start sculpting and not learn any of the sculpting tools and stuff, because it's like, how do we make sure that it feels polygonal enough? We wound up, and it's been a pain in the artist's ass. If Pattis is still in here, or any of the other artists, they can tell you about the pain that we suffer from it. Like we've been using Unity's integrated Pro Builder tool, because it makes it looks really, it's very simple, and it's got so many constraints on it that you're just able to like come in and have it look old, because it's kind of old in terms of its, I guess, and you guys that know this better, you could say maybe I'm full of shit, I'm not explaining it well enough or whatever, because I'm sure you could do different settings and you could paint in and go with more verts and all this other stuff, where it's like we keep the vert count low on purpose, in order to make sure that it's got the right feel, it's chunky enough. We look at stuff like silhouetting, and we're like, all right, the silhouetting on the skyline, how do we make sure that it feels right? Like that's chunky as shit. Even if it's placeholder, it's still right. And so there's a lot of that discussion in the background, but we're still looking at things like, all right, well, how do we improve the texture? And right now, this is not blended well because of a problem that we're running into. But it was like, how do we then do stuff like get this nice texture blending going on, right? So now you can see here where it's still placeholder, right? Because we'd want this to blend better, and we're probably going to use different texture. But it's like, how do we merge this with chunkiness? right? And that's what we've been doing on the player character side of things as well. So don't want to don't want to derail this awesome combo, but I'd like to know if there is a mascot / Furiona type character you guys feel best represents the brand. Probably. Oh man. Oh, I forgot I gave up my affiliate. I don't think I have all the emotes anymore. Probably the blue capsule guy, if you've seen him in Discord. The various capsule creatures. On a more serious note, in terms of like actual... yeah, there we go. Thanks, Nick. Where did... Do you still have access to him? Why am I so not good at this? Stumpy the Whistler. We'll start to see like more of a consistent named cast. But the one concern about going to Furiona too fast that I have at least is we want this to be we want the game to really be about the player's story. I know a lot of people say that shit, but you know, we're creating a place with characters in it for you to have your experiences. Don't want to lean too heavily on that sort of like the other characters. And I know that, you know what I mean, like I at this point it's 11:30 p.m. I got up at 6. I'm probably starting to not articulate things even well, no, that's not a good excuse because I'm actually probably clearer than I was 3 hours ago. But we don't want it to get too like we don't want it to be it's not a character driven game in the sense that the game's you know, characters are sort of driving the plot. It's the player characters. It's character driven in the sense that you go in and you gain awareness of the world and you'll start to catch up on like the state of things. But it's not a narrative driven game. It's very much like it's more about us setting up a context and then kind of seeing what you understand of the context and where you ultimately go with it. So not the most concise way of saying it, but hey, you get what you pay for. Have we discussed when stats will be reworked? Remember you guys talking about how they don't do what you really want them to do? Stuff's always being reworked in the background. That said, if you look at some of the 3Ps that we've done, you'll start to see more consistent characters, right? Like if you... And it's very possible that over time we'll do something where these people have more names and maybe you can run into them or whatever, but we don't want you to necessarily be playing their story. We want you to just experience them, so. Where was I? Where is it? Oh, yeah, editor. I know a group that did the dungeon run couldn't stop talking about those experiences. Player stories being built is felt for real. When we've like basically when we've done the playtest and seen the number of people that kind of shared a similar sentiment, especially this last one, so many people were talking about like they played with their parents or they brought their family in and played with them for the first time, and they had these various oh shit moments and all sorts of stuff like that. And they're, you know, the number of people are like, oh, and then he died, and I've watched videos that people have posted as well where it's like 30% of the video is them finding their corpse, but they had a good time. And it was like, All right, yeah, exactly. John, I was thinking about that the other day in relation to our like NE Not For Everyone campaign. It just like as the secondary campaign, the You Are Not Special. That is the ad for our game. Welcome to Monsters and Memories. You are not special. It's just a field of corpses. Tangent said, I haven't felt excitement to survive a room and get loot like that for years. I died enough charm grouping my teammates, gained 2 levels on me, and I had a blast. Yeah, we were watching. Oh yeah, and Zukin said earlier, if you didn't see it, we have heard the request for Minor Illusion. It has been heard. I think that was the refrain, right? Like, you didn't mind losing experience, you didn't mind being killed repeatedly as long as you finally got Minor Illusion. Thanks for considering it. I don't think we ever... I think it's always been on our list. I don't know. Nick, am I lying? I could have sworn it's always been on our list because we've joked about, like, all the random shit you can do with it. It's just, I don't think it's... It just isn't in yet. Yeah. Yeah, Zukin said Minor Illusion was one of the reasons why he played Enchanter. I think I mentioned the story. I spent a few evenings on a twink just taking my gnome and Minor Illusioning into a bag in the EC tunnel and role playing that I had been kidnapped and stuffed in a bag. Ridiculous, but that's how I spent my night for several nights. Had a great time with it. One of these days when we've got the bandwidth, we've also joked about making a shitload of different mimics. So, you know, mimic chairs, mimic doors, mimic ships, mimic everything. I wonder if there's some interplay with Minor Illusion and mimic. Will there be a guide/GM program when the game goes live? So the challenge with that is I think there's some legalities we've got to watch out for, because when a game goes live, then we're for profit. And so we got to be careful there. If we can somehow pull it off, if we can grow the game to a point where we've got money, it would be nice to instead of having a volunteer program, we just, you know, people are able to maybe be, freelancers. And then later on, it would be nice just to have, you know, customer service that takes care of things and we take care of them, right? Like, I mean, that's kind of the refrain with our game is, like, how do we get to a point where we can take care of people? How did SOE get away with the volunteer guides then? At one point, I could have sworn there was either a threat of a lawsuit or they actually got sued. But I thought it was just a threat of a lawsuit. I don't know that they got sued. If you Google around, I think you can find it. UO got sued. On what grounds? I think because they're a for-profit company and they had set time requirements. If you set like actual time requirements, then you cross the line. I'm not a lawyer. This is not legal advice. Remember, all the advice we give here is not, it's not financial advice, marriage advice, legal advice, any of that. I thought that's what happened though. So. Oh man, it would be so awful amazing to get corpse opening a get corpse opening a door the first time. Yeah, you open a mouth and step into it. You need life advice? I'll give it. It's not binding. Yeah, so first had it covered, but yeah. I think he's covered it in chat in terms of the whole legalities and stuff. But just remember, even his advice is not legal advice. Cool, guys. I love you to death. It's been a fun night. I thought I was gonna be done. Like I told you, I woke up at 6 this morning thinking, man, it's gonna be a long day. But the stream wound up being a lot of fun. Are any of the M&M folks streaming? I love you to death, but I need to get to bed because I'm gonna go to bed. I'll still be a little excited. I'll catch up on reading and stuff. I'll go to bed at midnight and then I'll be back up at like 5:30, 6 in the morning again. So, hey, Soldier Fate, what's going on? M&M folks, if anybody's streaming, let me know. I'll raid you. Tangent, I'm assuming you're not streaming at the moment, so otherwise I would happily raid you as well. Yeah, but if nobody on the team streaming, then I'll probably wrap up. I'll do the usual good nights here, and then I'll see you on Friday. Yeah, so let's do this. Let's say goodnight, folks. And yeah, don't forget, join our Discord if you're new here, if you don't know what the hell we've been talking about. Monsters and Memories, it's the website. Discord's up to 8,600 now. That's wild. Everybody's so well behaved and shit. That's super cool. You can watch the VODs on YouTube. But yeah, let me say goodnights before they scroll off the screen. Vulork, see you. You're very welcome. It's always nice to see you. One of the OGs. 2 Chains. See you, buddy. Feldane. Have a great one. Dead Zergling, you're very welcome. Nicodemus, see you in Slack, buddy. Thulon, you're welcome. Grix, it's okay. You can catch the VOD. Awesome, you're learning Blender. Said learning Blender thanks to Zukin's motivation. Yeah, and don't forget, guys, in Discord you can get the notifications for all the people that are streaming. There's a bunch of people on the team streaming, and some are trying it out for the first time, some dabble a bit or whatever. But if you're in there with the notifications, you should get everybody. Check out Zukin later. And hey, Tangent, thanks for popping in. And again, thank you for all the kind words. It's been really nice. You're kind of a big deal, you know, so it's nice hearing from you. Matthias, have a great evening yourself. I'm just going to bed. Eris Online, see ya. Thanks for lurking. Daddy says, if no Eminem Ray, DJ Knight, he's a buddy of mine. Would scared to I don't want to freak him out. I don't want anybody to like have a heart attack. Have a good one, Tangent. Let's see. John, see you in Slack. Lich, you're very welcome. Brent, see you, buddy. Moss Coat, you're welcome. getting distracted. Yeah, it wound up being a lot of fun tonight. Death by Gnomes. Playtest on Friday. Did I say that? I don't think I said that. But you never know, but probably not. Flintlock, see ya. See ya, Judaddy. Zeph, good talking to you. Yeah, it's fun. It's fun hanging out with you. Florane, good night. Sneaky Russian. Arrivederci, or however you say it. Soldier's Fate. Good night. Liz Biscuits. Good night, milady. Scruffy Bard. See you later, boss. Yeah. Thanks, buddy. Thanks, pal. Kufu. Good night. Ida Fab. Good night. Nick Potts. Nick Sahadi. Good night. Death by Gnomes, I already said good night to you. Thadvik, good night. Corvus, good night. Wrong Warp, I said it right this time. Just to make up for screwing it up straight out of the gate. See ya. Be More Gaming. Later, Be More. Draxus Big D. Thanks again for the follow. I appreciate your large presence in here. Later, Darius. See ya, Thulon. Chili sauce. See ya, bud. D loves pudding. See ya. See ya, D. Good night first. Iker. Awesome. Glad you feel that way. Take care, Seahole. Lisava. Thank you, I will. See you. Normally fans, good night. And Zach. I just wanted to say Zachary. The last name on the list and I fuck it up. Alright. Zerike. Kimpachi. Good night. I think that's everybody. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Grandpa. And I will see you guys on Friday, probably, unless I flake out. What? Judaddy says I was trying an idea for you to look into the legality. Can we sub your Twitch? No, no subs to the Twitch because I live in Germany and taxes here are weird. And so I turned all that off. Sub to one of the other team members if you want to support those guys. They're working out of pocket. We got people that are freelancers that are working on this game for free. Check out the notifications in Discord. Find the other folks that are other folks that are streaming, and you can hit them up. That'll be that could be your gift to me, or to the team. Yeah, definitely. Anybody else on the team is good. Kinji. Yeah, we do have subways in Germany. Tschüss. Schönes Abend. Bis Freitag. Bye bye.